Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
Evan melted, by the way. He said this summer's overrated. He can't be outside. We know that Evan doesn't do any yard work anyway.
I didn't say summer was overrated.
Summer's overrated.
Right
it's
now.
too hot. He doesn't do yard work in the first place. So
True. You love it though. You love that it's 100 degrees out. You're not.
Yeah, 100 might be a little bit strong, but I did. Last week we had the holiday on Thursday, and it was pretty hot that day. It was in the 90s. So Justin in New Hampshire is soft like you, Evan. He says maybe it's the New Englander in me, but I'd much rather be sitting in 43-degree weather right now than this 90-degree heat.
I disagree with that.
Soft.
No, I'm
soft.
Like 65 and sunny is the sweet spot. That's the best weather right there. Apparently in Oak Bluffs right now, there is a replica orca at the dock that's sitting there for the 50th anniversary. So I'm going to go
big time.
I'm going to take a picture on the orca for you guys. And, I know I'm the biggest Jaws fan here, so that makes sense that it would be me.
22, Evan talked about the right side of the offensive line being about 900 pounds of human meat.
Yeah.
Which that can only be a phrase that you would say.
Yes.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome everybody to Patriots Unfiltered. And that's right, it's Deuce in the host chair. Back to save you from weather talk with these two guys. I don't know.
Sorry, everyone.
It's actually salt and pepper with guests.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah, we allowed you to be on our show today.
Oh, nice enough.
We invited you. Alex was always invited, but
I just want a special thank you. I think it was Justin in New Hampshire who would much rather have this miserable weather than the beautiful days that we've had this week. But
well, we had the heat break, and of course Paul's miserable about it. But it's Deuce.
35-degree drop in temperature. Awesome.
Lazar, Perillo, Alex, and real quick off the top, Alex.
10 out of 10.
Just back from
Salt and pepper, of course.
I think they were making fun of our hair color, but
it was a combination of the hair color and the, music love.
Love it.
Salt and pepper.
So to start off, though, real quick, Alex, you're back from New York. You were the hashtag Sports Awards. Is that correct?
Sure was, yeah.
Winning award here for our last year. The schedule release video, Good Jules Hunting. So that was a big night for you guys. Junhee, Veronica, team down there representing.
3 of us went down there. It was a 2-day conference, and then the award show Tuesday night. We stayed in Hell's Kitchen, so the weather really
was it hot
made
there
me understand that.
Was it stinky?
It was definitely stinky. It was definitely hot, but I like the heat. Me and Paul, simpatico there. I would rather have 100-degree days than cold winter, even though I don't mind the winter that much. But it was tough. Some people I don't know. I liked it better than most.
Yeah.
Like, I went for a 5-mile walk around the city before starting the work day.
And you made it back. It's unbelievable.
You didn't melt.
The heat.
I was fine. I like the heat. I like to sweat. I think it's good for you.
The heat isn't horrible in New York City.
Yeah.
It's the smell. Because all the trash and everything, it just bakes.
And it was definitely trash
the smell
day.
Is awful.
Yeah,
so that was
trash
tough.
Day. It's trash day somewhere every.
Do they take their trash out the night before, or do they wait till the morning of?
It's a good question.
I didn't notice, but it's funny because there's no barrels. It's just the bags.
They just throw the bags out.
So
and then
it's a mess.
the subway too
is
hot. It gets hot down there.
But you know what? The congestion pricing in Manhattan, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing because it was easier to navigate New York City than it is Boston now.
100%.
Like, we went from Hell's Kitchen where we were staying because the venue of the conference changed at the last minute. So we were taking 10-minute Ubers from Hell's Kitchen to Park Avenue and stuff, and it was so easy to navigate. And
Did
I was
you see
just
Raj?
Who?
Goodell.
No, I
Goodell,
didn't.
as the
Well,
Mad
we were
Dog would
talking
say.
about it because
Goodell.
I think Veronica was like, "Where's the NFL head?" We made some friends from the Seahawks and the Falcons too, which is quite
that's cute.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's cute.
I was telling Deuce about that. I didn't pick on them too much, but we were just talking. They were like, "Oh, where's the NFL headquarters?" I was like, "You guys, it's in New York City. Don't you remember when Portnoy and company got arrested for handcuffing
and people that didn't live in or root for the Patriots didn't really know that, huh?
This was to either Veronica or June.
So people that didn't root for the Patriots,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Veronica's a Steelers fan.
Yeah. And Junhee
She's
is
from
LA.
here. She's from here though.
Yeah.
But we're all Patriots fans.
But yeah,
now,
we had a
so-
great time. It was really cool. Met Hannah Storm. That was a fun little
nice.
moment. She
Legend.
received a Lifetime Achievement Award. Very fitting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Made some great connections out there. I was like on my A game with the schmoozing. And yeah, we won an award for
I've
best
never-
short video.
never been
Not
And
exactly the most politically correct comment that I've ever made, but
Yes.
Hannah Storm,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
she's still bringing high heat.
Yeah.
She's still
She
bringing
does
it.
it for you.
Can
She's still
confirm.
bringing high heat.
She's 98 at
Yeah.
the top of the zone.
Can
Yeah.
confirm.
Yeah,
You're
on the
giving her
corners too.
Lifetime
That's fair.
Achievement Award
Yeah.
for Paul
Yeah.
Perillo as well.
But
Yeah.
funny story. They're announcing our category because we were in 3 categories shortlisted. The Madden Sim got a nod, and then we got another recognition for an Anything But Football with Alexa Pano, our collab with the LPGA there, and then Best Short Video, which was probably like in the big category of bigger, more important awards. And we thought, Veronica and I just thought we had more time, and we were like, now it feels like a great time to go to the bathroom. So we did. We
you
left
missed it?
the table and we went to the bathroom. Fortunately, the bathroom was close enough where I could hear the broadcaster on the mic. And for whatever reason, by the grace of God, I didn't go into the stall right away, and I was touching up my hair because my barrette broke, so I was trying to fix it. And Veronica
I know
was
that.
actively using the
Tough.
bathroom, and all of a sudden I hear, and now the nominations for Best Short Video.
Veronica, let's
I go, Veronica, holy like, we gotta go now. They just announced, and there was a woman from the Warriors, Golden State, who was in the bathroom with us. It was like, girls, run, you can make it. So we sprint out there, make it in time, but I just see Junie sitting at the table, like, panicking, like, looking around for us, didn't know what to do, and I emerge from the bathroom, and I'm like, I don't know if Veronica's gonna make it, I'm not gonna lie. So fortunately we did. We were very frazzled on the stage. Managed to make a speech and but it was just a blur because it all happened so quickly. But great 3 days in New York City.
I'm an
Did you tell your kids to make sure they go to bed?
Right.
Go to-
Mommy
I don't
loves
have
you.
children, but if I did, I'm sure
Yeah,
I
I
would
know,
have.
but you
the thing,
know,
too.
Well,
that's what you do.
You couldn't stream it. I don't think it was live because my mom was asking. She really wanted to watch it, but
she looks at me
You
like,
like me? You really
I don't
like
have
me?
I don't have children.
To miss the joke. Well,
I'm
what
an
else is going on here?
I'm an award-winning actor.
You are, oh, that's
But
true.
the
the best
So,
Twitter
that's
comment.
true,
The
right.
best
I'm gonna
Twitter
put that on my
comment
resume.
was someone that tweeted at Evan, "You're an actor in an award-winning
Yeah.
film, not an award-winning actor."
These are my people.
Big difference.
These are my people.
I'm an actor in an
Whoever
award-winning
that
film.
was great.
Like, there's a lot of people that don't have awards to their name, and I'm not one of them.
And I'm an
I am-
award-winning screenwriter now, if by that logic.
And they're way better actors.
Yeah. So there you go.
So you'll notice we're all in our Patriots polos today. Alex didn't get the message apparently.
I
but,
didn't get mine yet.
Shot a little training
one
camp
gave me
preview.
one.
We're getting close. What are we, about 3 weeks away?
I don't get
know,
pretty
it's 4
close
weeks
here.
away. 4 weeks away. It's closing in fast.
Don't rush it.
I'm sorry. I
I can't believe
help
next
it.
week's July 4th already.
I'm getting
We're
excited
just-
for it, and I hope everyone else is too.
I'm just excited to enjoy some more 68-degree days as I'm leading up
you
to
are
training
being
camp.
snarky,
Well,
but you really think that the other day when it was 102 was better than this?
Oh,
Then the
light years.
yeah.
What?
Light years.
What is
the
wrong
sun
with
is
you?
out. What could be better than
When the
being
sun
in
is
the
out,
sun?
you're on the sun. Like, you might as well
great.
Well,
just be on the
great.
surface.
I think they heard your complaints, and now they're pumping up the temperature in this studio to 102 degrees to get us to where we need to be because it's slowly getting hotter and hotter in here. But
Are you upset that no one's really paying attention to you leading the show?
no,
Not like
you're
when
just
Evan
doing
and
your
I
own
were
thing. It's like Salt and
simpatico.
Pepper going off with.
We're
with
vibing right now.
What was Salt and Pepper's DJ name too? Do you remember? Didn't they have?
Paprika?
Didn't they have
Just kidding. That was
Who,
Blue's
Spin?
Clues.
Yeah, Spinderella.
Spinderella.
Spinderella. See, you
Turn
could
it
be
up one
Spinderella, but I don't know.
time.
Okay.
I don't know Spinderella, but
That one's going to come back and haunt me later.
I wanted to ask you guys. So, Paul, you told me your question though that to top off last show that got me a little bit intrigued. And it was, I think, one thing you feel good about.
Oh, football.
Yeah, I want to do a little football today, and I also want to talk a little bit about the 2006 AFC divisional game, Patriots Chargers, which I watched in its entirety last night.
Troy
And,
Brown hero.
I mean, it was. I don't know. I guess we can just do this now. So as I started watching, I'm like, why am I watching this? And I realized we're not going to have a lot to talk about today because we're kind of in the void, as I like to call it. Not a lot of football news going on.
Yeah.
I've told the story before. One of my best fan experiences of my life. I don't need to rehash the whole story, but went to that 06 AFC divisional game, won ticket, was sitting right in back of the Patriots bench. But as you get removed from these games, and I've said it like doing my 1985 stuff, I've watched those old games, and you have a whole new perspective. And I'm watching this team, and I'm like, they were terrible in this game. Like, I hadn't remembered how bad they were. And it really came down to the end where Brady made one amazing throw. You mentioned the Troy Brown thing. I think some of the context of that got lost, that was a 4th down play. So it wasn't just that they intercepted it and fumbled it. Like, he could have just intercepted it and thrown it, like, just broken it up. Game over. Game over. But because he
Are you trying to tell me that the opponent had something to do with that loss?
Well, I came out of that one saying Marty Schottenheimer deserved to get fired after. And I think that was a big talking point out of that game. They were coming off a 14-2 season, the number 1 seed in the AFC.
They were a better team.
They were a better team, no question. And so just the thing it got me thinking about, which I had to do a little bit of a deep dive, was like, Brady had, I think he had 3 interceptions. He could have easily had 4. There was another one where he got sacked, fumbled, that bounced right into one of the Patriots' offensive linemen.
Well,
so,
that was a day that ended in day.
Was
back
that
in those days.
Was
Brady had an unbelievable knack of, like, somehow corralling his strip sacks.
He was very good at fumbling.
When he went down,
He's a pro fumbler.
he would, like, corral it somehow.
Yeah.
And he did it all the time. To the point where I'm not even sure it was luck. I just think that he had an incredible knack for knowing when that was going to happen.
It was unbelievable.
It was weird.
He looked off to me in the game, too. I mean, a lot of high passes. And then the other part of the context to me was we spent so much time since I got here 6 years ago talking about the weapons and the wide receivers. And I'm looking out there, and it's like Jabbar Gaffney and Troy Brown, who is really getting close to the end of the line, and the last guy, Rashae Caldwell, who they acquired as a free agent. Expected, I think, Deion Branch to come into that season. But even with Deion Branch, I'm watching this team like, oh, my God, they were really, really struggling to do anything. Corey Dillon looked like he was about 20 pounds overweight. Lawrence Maroney can't get out of the backfield. He doesn't really seem to have any vision. So I think at the time when I was Deuce super fan in 06, going back watching that team, it's, you don't really watch it with a total critical eye. You're like, man, they won that game. But I had to pull some of the stats because it was the second worst performance Brady's had and still won in the playoffs, just as far as QB rating. The rest of the other top 5, does anybody want to take a stab at what the other game was that they won that he had a worse? It was only by 1/10 of a point. It was a very similar game. But there's one other game that
performance
he was worse
in a game that they won,
and they still won. Playoff game.
So I'm going to be full disclosure. I would have picked the 07 AFC Championship game against the same San Diego Chargers, but I know because we talked about this off air that's
was
not
7th,
it.
Yeah.
The game that they won that he played worse than that. Huh.
It's one of your faves, Paul.
I mean, I have so many. Why don't you just tell me what the answer is?
The 2011 AFC Championship game against the Baltimore Ravens.
I was just going to say, it must have been the Ravens game with the 2 14-point deficits. That was crazy.
This is passer rating.
Yeah, right, but it's still multiple interceptions.
Watch the tape, man.
Three picks is 3 picks.
I know, but
like he played poorly in the
I remember him playing better
AFC Championship
game than 06.
Yeah, I don't remember him playing all that poorly in that 11 game against Baltimore. I don't. I mean, isn't that the game that he had the over-the-top quarterback sneak that Ray Lewis hit him in the back?
Yep.
Like, I don't remember him being all that bad in that game, but I guess he was.
It was a struggle. There's just some of the other games that his worst passer ratings, 2009 against Baltimore was the lowest.
Was terrible.
I mean, everybody was terrible.
And great defense too. At Denver in 2015, great defense. I mean, that was Von Miller.
But even that game though, like he still has the throw to Gronk up the seam on 4th down. It's like one of the best throws he's ever made.
The drive in general.
Yeah.
They ended up going down and scoring a touchdown.
Right.
And then
the amount of that throw is because they didn't end up winning that game. I feel like that throw gets lost in the sauce a little bit. Like that's 4th down, season on the line, and he throws a dime to Gronk up the seam to convert the 4th down. Like perfect throw.
And that's the same thing to Rashae Caldwell, the one big throw he made in the San Diego Chargers game.
Oh, you mean the one that he dropped in the end zone?
No. This is before he caught this one.
He caught it with the big
tie game. Yeah. Tie game. I mean, I'm not sure where the exact what the yardage was.
I want to say it was 3rd and 10.
3rd and 10.
That bomb to Caldwell down the sideline that set up the go-ahead field goal. I want to say it was a 3rd and 10 play.
Game's on the line, and that was the one big throw. But it just shows I mean I'm you guys know I hate Brady, right? I mean, I don't mean to talk about his worst games, but these are some of the games where even though he played really bad, when it came down to it at the end, he was still able to make a couple throws, make it interesting. I thought the fifth worst passer rating of all time, 2019 against Tennessee, Mike Vrabel here.
See, like I would have think
wasn't
that
good that
game was worse than the 2011 championship game. But watching the two of the games, it felt worse. Like that game, they didn't move the ball at all. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
all he needed was one touchdown drive in the fourth quarter, and they would have won the game. And they couldn't do it.
They were dead.
Yeah.
They were dead on the water.
Yeah.
Last just point to bring up about this was no surprise. The opposite end of the spectrum, his highest passer rating in a loss, of course, is Super Bowl 52 with against the Eagles, where he threw for 500 yards in it.
Yeah.
Really glad we brought that one up.
Crazy, but
Yeah.
no, I just one other thing I thought was funny to bring up about this game is what was the big controversy from this game? One of the controversial things the Chargers were upset about. Do you remember this coming out of the game?
Vince Wilfork celebrating the lights out dance on the field.
Well, do you know who I spied?
Because LaDainian Tomlinson, I don't know if you know, is classy. He would never do anything like that.
So
would never win either. So
well aware of that storyline, and I think
that was the biggest loser lament after a lot. Like that to me was far worse. And I don't always beat up on the opposition when they lose and stuff like that. I'm not, I'm not Sully. Okay, I'm not just making fun of the other guys. That was the worst loser lament ever. You want to bitch about the officiating? I think that's a loser lament more often than not. But at least everybody does that. Everybody always thinks their team got screwed by the officials, right? You were really upset because they were mocking your guys' sack dance, sack celebration, and that really bothered you, LaDainian Tomlinson. You're a Hall of Fame player, and that bothered you to the point where you had to talk about it after the game? Loser.
So the thing that caught my eye about this, Paul, was, and everyone was kind of saying at the end of the game was when they were doing it, and that was what was getting everybody's, upset. In the first quarter, I believe, might have been the second quarter, Mike Vrabel had a sack and fumble. And Mike Vrabel was the first one, I think, to go after the sack and start doing it. And I'm like,
that's our coach.
That's our coach.
He does that stuff all the time. Think back to
he was leading the charge
2 years before in the Eagles Super Bowl. He was flapping the wings.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He loves it. Now, other thing, Ev, that stood out to me about that game was just that, they played 3-4 defense the whole time, pretty much. I mean, there were a couple, third and longs where they'd bring in, they take Wilfork out, they bring Jarvis Green in, but, it's just the same guys over and over again. It's, compared to what we watch today, where it's so specialized, you have so many pass rushers, and it's just Mike Vrabel, Teddy Bruschi, Roosevelt Colvin, those guys playing every down. Just different game, but fun. Brought back a lot of great memories. And then actually at halftime, if you guys stick around on the video, we're going to play the segment that Paul and I did with Josh McDaniels about that last drive with Tom Brady in that 06 game against the Chargers. So halftime, something to stick around for and watch. So it was fun. Good game. I know.
It was nice to bring Mike down memory lane.
That was one of my favorites. That was cool. One of my favorite fan
There's certain
experiences.
Games that I've never watched again because they lost. Whether it's the Super Bowl or whether it's even a win like that. Obviously, to get to the Super Bowl, you have to make a run, and I have never. But maybe now I could do it. I probably could stomach it now. As a true fan, what I was before I started covering the team, I would never sit down and watch Super Bowl 52 again. I would rather.
I can't even tell you what happened in that one.
Gouge my eyes out than watch that game again.
Well, what were your favorite fan experiences, growing up when you were younger? Before this is your job, but there's certain fan experiences. That game stands out to me. And then also in 2014, I came here, had a bunch of stuff to give away for the blog against the Broncos. It was, I think, Peyton Manning's last game here. Edelman returned a punt for a touchdown. Me and my buddy Fitzy, my sister, we were all giving stuff away in the parking lot.
Were you down in the end zone celebrating?
I had to get my boy, my guy. Had to get my guy.
Get my guy.
But those were two of my favorite Patriots experience. Nothing can top San Diego. It's a playoff game, but just such a cool experience. Be a fan, watch your team pull an upset.
I had a very cool fan experience at San Diego also from '96. Yeah. I would say the best for me would be the division playoff against Pittsburgh in '96 here. First home playoff win, fog game, 28-3. Patriots blew out a really good Pittsburgh team. They won the AFC Championship game the next week, but they didn't play as well in that game. That was for me.
You got some tailgating with your brother?
Because all the real like all the Super Bowls, I was working, so they're not fan experiences for me.
No, it's totally different.
It is. It's different.
Oh, it is. Because
I'm not saying that.
Do you remember Deuce that he's been to Super Bowls? You remember that?
Him and Fred find that they need to constantly remind me.
I've been to quite a few.
And he's got some rings as well.
I was actually at the '96 Super Bowl too, as a fan.
So yeah,
10 of them. Well, actually, I missed one of them. Damn Will.
Babies.
The birth of my son. God dang it.
But is that specifically, Paul, for you? Is that specifically the game experience itself, or was it like the tailgate before? The
game experience for the Pittsburgh game. It just it was like one 3-hour-long party.
Yeah.
They took control of the game right away. I want to say they forced a 3-and-out. Then they went right down and scored a touchdown, forced another 3-and-out, went down and scored a touchdown. The game was kind of over.
You did the nod.
It was 3 hours of just celebration.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing of watching that Chargers game. It's like it was a terrible game. Like both teams were like off. It wasn't back and forth and scoring. It was like
I felt like the Chargers were on the verge of blowing that game open 17 times, and then they just kept dropping the ball. Like Vincent Jackson couldn't catch.
Oh my gosh.
The punt returner guy couldn't catch.
Eric Parker.
Marlon McCree couldn't catch. Then Nate Kading misses a field goal at the end, and they lose.
Yeah.
It's like, how does a 14-2 team lose at home in the playoffs? Well, here's about 10 things you probably don't want to do if you don't want to get upset at home in the playoffs. And they did like 8 of them.
I know. I mean, drops right out of the gate. You could just tell they weren't ready to go.
Alex is shaking her head like, how does he remember this stuff?
I just watched.
You're a marvel, Paul. You're a marvel.
What about you, Alex? What are your fan experiences?
I didn't have a ton in stadium. I would always go to like early season games when it's warm. I just preferred to watch it on TV. But I think the one that stands out to me the most is the Seahawks Super Bowl. We hadn't won in a while. And at this point, I'm now, I was old enough in 07 and 11 to really be, dialed in with all the players. But we hadn't won a Super Bowl yet. And then in 11, I just remember I was with, 15 of my high school friends. One of them had a pretty sweet bonus room above their garage. We were all up there, and just you didn't know what was going to happen. You thought we were going to lose, and then that interception happens, and I'll just never forget celebrating with all my friends. And that was before I was arrogant about my fandom too, because by the time the Atlanta and Rams Super Bowl came around, I've refound my cockiness about the Patriots, so that ignited it.
That's kind of what I was thinking about, because you mentioned Nate Kading missed the field goal at the end, but this was now a Patriots team that was in the beginning stages, 2 years in after this, of things don't quite go right those last drives with some of those games where it came down to the end. They couldn't quite make stops.
The very next week
they can't make a stop. You get to Super Bowl 42, they can't make a stop. Super Bowl 46, they can't make a stop. It was kind of a theme, and this to me was one of the last games where it kind of worked out okay. It's same thing with the Eagles Super Bowl and Super Bowl 39, where they get a last chance. They look discombobulated. Rodney Harrison picks off an errant throw and ends it. But those were really plays that became a problem. And that's why I think Super Bowl 49 was such an emotional roller coaster, because you had to experience that feeling of this is it. They're going to blow it again on a freak play. And, this is what's been happening back, since,
I definitely had that feeling.
To the point where, we had, shut off the game, and we were, just going downstairs. I forget exactly.
Whoa, shut off the game.
Well, we were going downstairs to,
I'm not going to judge.
My friend Tyler's dad was watching it in their living room. We were upstairs in the bonus room. Something happened where we were, heading downstairs, and we were just going to finish watching it in the living room with his dad and leave. And we were just watching just to, all right, let's watch them lose. And then they didn't, and it was
see, I was thinking
couldn't believe it happened.
There's still time.
Yeah.
See, I was giving Seattle the points, but I was it's still Brady. They still have time.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking the game was over. I definitely thought Seattle was going to score. Once they catch the ball with that fluke play down the sideline, it's another one of these kind of, David Tyree plays, and they get this one. But
what did the auxiliary press box feel like at that moment, Paul?
So I was at that particular Super Bowl.
Did you cheer in the press box?
Were you watching it on a TV, or did you have a view of the field?
The auxiliary press box at that particular Super Bowl, you're actually in the stands.
Oh, nice.
But you're not with the masses.
No. They have to.
Not with the unwashed.
All need security, so they had to separate them.
I was with Andy, and you know who else was with us?
Yeah.
NBA Kenny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was with us in the auxiliary press box.
Oh,
We
really?
were all sitting
Kenny
together.
was at a big Boston sporting
Yeah,
event.
he
I'm
was
shocked.
watching.
Yeah, NBA Kenny.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Evan? What's your fan experience?
Oh boy. Well, I was at Super Bowl 36.
Oh, right.
So
That's a good
that
one. You're
that's
only
up
like
there.
3 years old though, right?
I was 9.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Actually, and Bourbon Street the night before was fun too. And then
As a 9-year-old?
At age 9?
and then
I didn't even like it all that much at 30.
Young Lazar with beads on.
Evan's
and
9 years old. Wow, it's open carry here.
I had
You
my
can just walk around
I had
in
my
open
face
carry.
I had my
What?
face painted with the Elvis on it, and I had the beads on. And my dad had his hand just permanently over my eyes, and
So you had the beads, so they were like,
there was a lot of that going on.
big day
It
for
was
young Evan.
Big day.
I thought it'd be like
That's
9/11,
right. Look at
like
this smile. It's still bringing back
That's what
great
you became a
memories.
man.
debating
Yeah.
the matchup with random drunk people on
Yeah.
Bourbon Street. Like, well, it's the greatest
He's
show on
walking
turf.
by
Yeah.
Pat O'Brien.
Well-
and some dude was like, I'm really worried about the nickel package. I wouldn't worry about that at all.
Well, as you can imagine, that was me as a kid. And it either went one of two ways. Either the adults were into it and thought it was funny that I thought I knew what everything, or they would get like annoyed that this like 8 or 9 year
They would
old
look
kid.
at your father and like, what have you done?
Yeah, right. I was going that way. But I was at Super Bowl 36. After the game, too, I'll never forget my uncle, who was probably hammered, and I obviously didn't know because I was 9 years old, just running up and down the street, yelling, "We shocked the world! We shocked the world!" And like we were like just on cloud nine, obviously. But that was, I would say, probably 15 of us went to that game, and we had like seats just all sprinkled out throughout the entire stadium because we couldn't all sit together. So it was my dad and my grandfather and I, or the three of us sat together, but everybody else was all scattered throughout the entire stadium. But David Patton's touchdown in the back of the end zone happened right in front of us.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Do you think that game had a big impact on you choosing this as like a career path and wanting to cover
Oh,
football
I mean,
for
that
them?
whole season did. Like that, Brady coming in and the 2001 season. And, that was the first season that I can really vividly remember what was happening and, like, watching the games and things like that. And, I still remember my dad telling me that we were going, which was an awesome moment as well. And I was like screaming throughout the house. Like I was so excited. And we went through like a crazy route to get there. 9/11 had just happened, so like the airports were like on lockdown, so it was like insane security,
Especially out of Boston.
yeah. So we flew from like Boston to Houston or Dallas, and then drove from there to New Orleans. We, like, rented a car and drove from there to New Orleans.
It's all part of the fun.
Oh God! And like the people that were having a good time, the adults, like the ride back was just disgusting. Like we were pulling over to the side of the road because people couldn't, keep their breakfast down, and like it was
Breakfast.
just
It's
like
definitely the breakfast they couldn't keep
yeah,
down.
yeah, and like all this stuff. And my cousin was like, she was like 9. She was in college, so she was probably like 19 or 20 at the time. And the story that they told me was that she ate bad pizza. And I had no idea to think any differently. And then I got into like my teenage years, and I was like, "You didn't have bad pizza," like it was one of those.
You were
things.
drinking.
Yeah. So
Alcoholic beverages.
so that was number one. I mean, that's number one by a mile. But I was also here for the 24-3 comeback against Denver in 2013. I want to say it was, and that was my 21st birthday. So my family took me to the game on my 21st birthday, and the tailgate was a great time. And then the game itself, a lot of our party, a lot of the people that were with us actually left at halftime because it was freezing. It was, I think, 20 degrees that night with the crazy wind chill. It was really cold, and they were down 24-3. And at the time, that's the biggest comeback in Patriots history until 28-3. And they came back and they won that game. So those would probably be my two top games. But I went to games all throughout my childhood, so there's a bunch of them.
It's kind of like something Alex and I were talking about. It's just something, to me, is trying to make sure that kids fall in love with the game of football and are still able to like go to these games and experience it. I think that's why I love training camp. It's an opportunity for people to go and not worry about having to spend $1,000 to do it.
Yeah.
You sound like you work for like the Chamber of Commerce for like cricket. Like somehow the NFL needs to have people. They need more eyes, and more attention on the sport.
Well,
we need to grow. We want to make sure that the kids know that this NFL thing it might catch on someday.
Well, maybe it's just my kids, but I don't. They like football. They both like flag football. But they're nowhere near invested in the team at all. And
I don't think it's just your kids. I think
Team's
it's
also
just
not very good.
Well, it's not even just the Patriots in general. I think it's a growing trend in all of sports.
I would totally agree.
Kids
Alex.
aren't really following sports like we used to.
They don't have
growing up.
teams the way we did.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And just the way you can just get highlights and clips on YouTube here and there, like they're not watching games.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a big Celtics fan since birth, basically. But the 2001 Patriots, I was 8, 9 years old, and that changed my sports fandom forever. I mean, I became a diehard Patriot. Not that I wouldn't have maybe anyways, but I definitely, that was the season, and Brady coming in and all that stuff. So I really, to Deuce's question, like that did probably change my life, honestly, not to be dramatic, but that honestly probably did.
No, I still think about the first time I went to the old stadium, and just I remember walking off of Route 1. The stadium was a lot closer to the road back then, and it looked like a castle to me on a hill, and just that impression.
It was a dump.
It was a dump. I was terrified. I'm watching fights go on in the parking lot. I'm like, Dad, terrified, but it made such an impression on me. I wonder, though, if, like that 01 team, it was so easy to get on board with a team like that, like a young, up-and-coming team, an underdog. We know the cliches of that whole trope, and it's easy to get invested in it. I wonder, somewhat if you're in a lull right now, maybe specifically for our team.
There could be some truth to that, because the first teams that I remember were actually very good.
Yeah.
76, 77, 78, they won a lot of games.
Yeah.
And that's, my earliest years watching the team. My first game that I went to was in 76. They went 11-3.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily have to suffer through all of those terrible teams that they had. When I was first getting involved in the Patriots.
You kind of get the vibe when you watch some of the Chiefs fans, some of the Eagles fans, even their parades that they've been lucky enough to have. I do feel like the championships probably bring more of the youth element in. It's easier to get on board when they're
for sure.
Winning championships, and for the rest of the other 31 teams in the league that every year it's just hard. I mean, that's what I see firsthand of, Fred talks about wanting to get kids involved more in football, and it's just, that's a concern of mine, but
that's the first one that, I mean, we didn't know that Boston and sports in general were going to go on this insane run like they did, but 2001's the first one out of that whole group. So I was 4 in 1996, so it's not like I really remember that. And the Celtics were horrible, like all throughout the 90s pretty much. So really it was like just that was the start of this incredible run. And then I think our generation is just so sports crazy because of how good all the teams have been for the last 20, 25 years. It's hard not to be, when every other year a team is winning a championship, it's like you're obviously gonna get invested and get excited about it. So
you just have spoiled fans still around. Like you still have people with just these unrealistic expectations, and sometimes when we get into talking about the new regime and Drake May and all that, it's like how lucky we would be if Drake May wins a Super Bowl. And is that enough for people? I mean, is that going to be like, is that, what I mean? Like, I think like a lot of people are like, well, I want at least 2 or 3 or it's not enough,
It probably depends on the generation you grew up in, right? Like Evan and mine, like I was in kindergarten in 01. And I remember vividly, I told the story this weekend, it was like Groundhog Day or something in kindergarten. And we came back that weekend and they were talking about the groundhog seeing its shadow. And I was like, who the hell cares? The Patriots won the Super Bowl. Like, what are we doing as a child? Like a 5-year-old, 5, 6, whatever you are. And then those titles carried me, Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, Patriots, into post-grad and like becoming... getting my first job at Mass Live and covering the World Series and the Patriots in 18. Like,
there's so many of us that, all my friends on the beat that this generation, like it shaped us to want to do this probably
100%.
as like careers, and it just, I know definitely for me and I can speak for Barth too, like that's why we're probably doing this, like is this all got us into it. But I feel like that will happen. Like, I think you see that a little bit now with, like, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and this Celtics team.
Kids
they just
love
won,
the Celtics.
But it would be hard. It'd be hard to be really into the Patriots or really into the Bruins or the Red Sox right now because they're not having the success that they once were having. So it's tough. Like there's no Bergeron, there's no Chara, there's none of that for this generation.
Like I look back at my yearbook from high school, and I grew up like 3 towns over. And you look, I have like a Chicago Blackhawks hat. Like there's nobody had like Patriot stuff on. Like every other, like
insulting.
Charlotte Hornets, like the Charlotte Hornets starter jacket, or those were the things that were in at that time. And I don't really remember
a Blackhawks hat.
Choice.
I know. Well, red and black. We were red and black. I think that's why. But there were so many random teams, and I would guess, in the last 20 years, you look at high school pictures. They're, kids, not going to be your senior portraits, of course. Those are very fancy, and you want them to look nice, but. Other kids just wearing. Nobody wore Patriot stuff. Nobody were. They weren't even in the league really. At least that's how it seemed at the time. But.
That's the only thing. For me, and I'm the oldest one here, obviously. But
true.
The one regret would be all of that winning. Like when listening to Alex and Evan talk about the impact it had on their childhood growing up. I just wish that it had happened earlier for me. Because it's great that they won the titles. But it's not the same when you're an adult.
Yeah.
You don't feel the same way. You're not running into parades and whatnot.
And especially once you're doing this for your career, and it's like
it
feels weirder. It's like weird to be a fanboy and like obsessing over these kids that are like younger than you.
But I would say, like for the Patriots, obviously that's different. It's work. But even like when the Red Sox won, when they won the first one, it was unbelievable and we were excited. But like. I just imagined when the 86 one happened and they were one strike away, 12 times in the, in the ninth inning or the 10th inning, whatever it was. And we were all getting ready to go. I was a freshman in college at the time, but we were all in my house in Everett. And I had all my high school guys and we were all just waiting for the last out and we were getting ready to go in to Kenmore. Now, I didn't run into Kenmore Square in 2004.
Yeah.
I'm a grown adult with,
a baby.
Responsibilities. I had no baby yet. No. So it's just different. It's a different mentality. Yeah. Not that I wasn't excited. When the Red Sox finally won it, it was, there's probably the same excitement I would have had, but like that party and celebration is different. You never feel the same way when you're like 15.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or the college
ones
be the
too.
same way. College ones were the best. Like UMass
and if
almost.
you recall, I made fun of you when you came in looking like Lucky the Leprechaun.
I don't know if I felt. I don't know. I don't know if it was quite 08. Like 08 was my Pearson, Garnett. That's my team, right? Like I don't know if it was quite that level, but it wasn't far off. It was.
Now
it was.
The
maybe
Celtics were the only
99%.
one of the teams that I got to enjoy championships when I was in high school. Yeah. Now I still didn't go to the parades because that's not my thing, but.
Having 2 championships while at UMass and just seeing that campus, like,
well, that was the other part of that.
Borderline burned down.
The Sox losing to the Mets, we had like a team brawl because everybody was either from Boston or New York. So it was not pretty.
That's fun. Well, you guys,
good times.
Next week, 4th of July is coming up, and you can stock up on everything you need to host a winning weekend get-together at Bob's Discount Furniture. Join Bob's for the 4th celebration and shop must-haves for every room, like feature packs, sectionals, perfect for hosting, party-ready dining seat sets, and Consumer Reports recommended mattresses at unbelievable values. Cue the fireworks. So stop in and get holiday weekend ready at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. And looks like the phones are stacking up a little bit. We got emails coming in. Give us a call, Patriots Unfiltered hotline, 855-PATS-500, or shoot us an email, podcast@patriots.com. And I don't know, do we start the show off with a bang in Christian, LA? Let's do it. Hey, Christian, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, you guys?
How much?
Howdy.
Good to talk to you on a Thursday, about 3 weeks out from football really starting, and I'm excited. One thing I'm not excited about, the haters. I listened to the call the other day, and in the middle, you guys do this thing where you have a couple of gentlemen come on, and they'll read some email. I've been noticing that there's a lot of emails that are pointed at good old Christian from L.A. I am a Patriots fan, people. I have been a Patriots fan since 1979. My best experience as a Patriots fan was getting the opportunity to go to the 2015 AFC Championship in Denver. staying on the same floor as Mr. Kraft and having a great conversation with him. My pseudo-worst experience as a Patriots fan was my first experience, and that was seeing Lyle Alzado paralyze Darryl Stingley live on TV. It was stunning, and I was just
Wasn't Lyle
floored.
Alzado.
Or it wasn't Lyle Alzado. Who was the guy that hit him?
Jack Tatum.
Jack Tatum in the back.
Tatum.
With the over the middle pass. Just stunning. That's how long and why I'm a Patriots fan. So to the haters, hey man, I'm one of you guys. But if you come at me, Christian from LA is going to come at you hard. Okay, on to football. I've heard a lot about the potential amount of wins we're going to have this season, and it's somewhere around 10 wins. And people are describing that as a good season. That would be a good season. If you can get 10 wins, that's not a good season, guys. That's a better season than we have. A good season is getting over the hump, competing for and possibly winning the division championship, and then going on to at least win one game in the playoffs. That's a good season. That's a great season when you're looking for regime change and something new, and that can only happen, and with this, with two things happening. We have to have someone compete for Defensive Player of the Year, and we have to have someone compete for Offensive Player of the Year. We can all collectively decide who those people are going to be, but if those two things don't happen, we are not having a good season. Thank you, guys. Christian from LA, out.
Well, that was a call.
Drop the mic.
Can I just say really quickly, I'll let you guys analyze all that?
Yeah.
Alex and Mike, you guys were right. Not sure if it will be enough.
Right.
Not sure if it will be enough.
Yeah.
Because when you combine for 8 wins in the 2 previous seasons and win 10 and that's no good, you guys are right. I thought that people would just want to have a good team again, but I was wrong.
I'd like to see, a functional offense that can score points in the red zone. I'd love to see them just stay in contention. The playoff win seems like a lofty thing to say. If you get in, you're going to be one of those lower seeds. You're going to have to play. I don't think it's impossible, but
I'm just saying, why can't it be a good season? Why can't you just win more games?
It's a good
and
season.
have it be a good
you could
season.
double your win total from last year.
He says it's not a
go
good
8-9.
season. They can win 10 games, not a good season.
That's a
I
good
think
season.
that's absurd.
It's not a great season.
10 wins would be fantastic. They've won 8 combined the last 2 years. You're more than doubling your win total from a year ago, and that's not good?
It's funny coming from Christian, as he said he remembers those old Patriots teams. That majority of that was the ceiling for those old 70s Patriots teams, losing in the first round of the playoffs.
I'm not telling you, you need to have a parade if you win 10 games and get knocked out of the playoffs, whether you make it or get knocked out in the first round. But, you don't look at that as a positive step in the rebuilding process?
Yeah. That's why I worry if expectations are just too high.
I think you guys are right. I underestimated
with
that.
With the schedule, not super. It's not the hardest schedule in the world, and then just with how the excitement around Vrabel and bringing in guys like Diggs, even though that's still a big unknown too. I just worry that we're so used to being so low that expectations are just way too high.
I think Drake's part of it too. I think
Yeah.
I've said it before. I think there are people who are like, we got the guy, and no question, Drake did a ton last year. Very excited about him, but
we forget about
he's
Mac
got
Jones'
prove
sophomore
it this
slump.
year, though. This is the proving ground for him, and I think we'll know it though, Paul. I felt the last couple of years, by the time you got to week 3, week 4, you kind of knew. You could probably even say in training camp, but give yourself September to confirm what you think you saw in training camp. I don't know how you guys felt, but we talked about the Cincinnati win last year, week 1. We won the first game, but we all kind of were like, it's going to be really tough to pull that off every week. By the time you get to that end of September, 4 or 5 games, you kind of know what you got and you know what it's going to be. I just hope there's some excitement of, there's some shortcomings on this team, maybe an injury or something creates a problem that they don't quite have the depth yet to handle. But you're going to know it. It's just watching it on the field.
Well, I feel like that's why the 10-win number has a negative connotation because of Mac Jones' rookie year, where they won 10 games, but you kind of knew the team had a ceiling with him as the quarterback and with the setup that they had. This 10 wins could look different. This 10 wins could look like Drake May is the guy, and he has now emerged not even more so than Mac Jones did his rookie year because of the physical traits where you're okay, now this is a guy that has a chance to be competing for MVP someday, where I don't think any of us had, even after 2021, had any thought in our mind whatsoever that Mac Jones would one day be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Serviceable, maybe, but not at that level. So 10 wins it's arbitrary. Like it depends on how that 10 wins looks.
It's a good point.
If they stumble to 10 win with 17 to 14 wins and there are all these rock fights like they were in 21 and even parts of 22, and that's not that appealing of a 10-win season. But they're 10 wins and Drake May throws for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. That's a different kind of 10-win season.
Yeah.
There is a big difference, and context is, certainly part of it, and that's a good point about how it comes about. I find it hard to believe they'd be able to win 10 games and have the quarterback not be responsible for any of them. They did that in 2021. They won 10 games when the quarterback really didn't have much to do with any of those wins.
He had a little bit something to do with it.
I said didn't have much to do.
I know.
I didn't say
that year
he
was
zero.
kind of just like the standard
coddled.
quarterback that he's not going to necessarily lose you any games, not going to necessarily
He was
win
completely
you any
coddled,
games.
and they didn't put him in any positions of harm's
It's
way.
like hold my beer about the
which
losing
is
games.
which is why they
Well, that came, yeah,
which is
that
why
came in too.
they never had any come from behind wins. They beat up on the good wins that they had, the quote unquote good teams that they beat were completely decimated when they played them, like Tennessee, Vrabel's Tennessee team that came
that
here
was
with
the year
21
where,
guys on the
right,
COVID
they had their
list.
JV team playing against the
But
Wins
I
a
find
win,
it hard
baby.
to. That's why I'm saying, like, they won 10 games. I understand Evan's point. If they won 10 games like that, maybe I wouldn't be as excited about it.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe you can do that over and over again. Just
Buffalo
win
game,
10
just
games without
run it
being any
all
good.
game.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in Christian LA's mouth, but the Commanders, I also feel like maybe set people up for expectations that are a little bit
Good
too
point.
lofty. Like them doing what they did last year and going to the NFC Championship game way ahead of schedule now makes everybody think, well, the Commanders just did it, so why can't another team just do it? And that was incredibly rare. Like that was an incredibly rare feat that they had last year to make it that far with the rebuild that they had. It wasn't. There's really not a lot of precedent for it.
Tampa.
So
They beat Tampa in the wild card game. So just using that as a barometer. So if they had lost to Tampa, they were a wild card team. That would not have been a successful season.
Right.
That would not have been a good season.
Yeah.
So they won a lot of regular season games, but they got knocked out in the first. Now let's face it, they went to Tampa. Not everybody thought that Washington would win that game going in.
Baker Bakes.
They won it. And then they won again the next week in Detroit. So now it's a good season because they
well, 2 years ago, Houston with a rookie Stroud won that game against Cleveland.
Yeah.
Which was Cleveland was kind
Flacco.
of not really a playoff team. End of the wild
that's a
card
good
type of
season.
thing. That was a really good season. Then they got their doors blown off of them by Baltimore, right? In the second round.
I don't think they got their doors blown off, but
It wasn't very competitive.
Have you guys seen much talk of people speculating that Washington will have the regression to the mean that we always talk about with big free agency classes? Seen them
not
talking about-
because of free agency classes, because I don't think that's how the team was built. But
last year they kind of got a bump with bringing guys in. I mean,
they got
Jaden Daniels. Of course,
they got a
is the key
Jaden Daniels
piece,
bump
but-
is what they got. The rest of it was kind of like the middle of the road kind of got like a veteran in Bobby Wagner, and you're going to plug him
Frankie
in.
Lovo.
Zach Ertz, who a lot of people
Right.
thought was done, went there and gave them a little bit of a lift, but they didn't. I don't think they spent big in free agency.
They did, but they did it more of like a spread it out spend instead of going and signing Milton Williams and like the top guy in free agency.
But they spent a lot of money.
They did.
Oh,
But
okay. I stand corrected, Juice.
They spread it out. It was a lot.
I'm going
of,
with my new partner here. If he says it, I'm on board with
I
him.
know.
Like
Salt and
sometimes
pepper. You don't mess with salt and pepper.
nerds research this stuff.
But I think to your point though, Paul, it's a big piece of it is the quarterback. And if you have the quarterback and you make that move with free agency 1 year and you have a good core around him and you have the support system that allows him to blossom, you're setting yourself up to avoid that.
What I
post-free
thought
agency dip.
when I originally answered, yes, I have heard a lot of the regression to the mean talk with Washington, and I have, because where I thought you were going was, I've heard people, and I don't know if this is just like you have this 365-day scrutiny that is now the NFL. Like you have to find something to nitpick. I've heard people say that, well, because Jaden Daniels was so experienced, having played 6 years of college football, he came as a finished product.
Oh, yeah.
So that's as good as he's going to be.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like
I mean,
I'm
he
not
got MVP votes, so if that's as good as he's gonna be, then like
no. But now you figure.
womp,
But
womp.
the point is, like, you sort of figure him out, and you take
I
away
would-
some of the things that he
yeah.
does well, and he's not going to get any better than he is.
I would worry about.
I don't know.
I would worry
Look pretty
about
good
Cliff
to me.
Kingsbury when it comes to that more than Jaden Daniels, because Cliff
Oh,
Kingsbury.
that's your thing, right? Kingsbury leaves. And
I love Cliff Kingsbury because his offenses are really fun to break down, but he gets figured out. He's one of those guys that tends to get figured out eventually. Like in Arizona, every year post-Thanksgiving, the Cardinals would just fall off a cliff offensively, and you kind of get a feel for what they're doing. And last year with Washington, they ran a lot of the concepts that he was running at LSU. They kind of just took a lot of that LSU stuff and brought it with Jaden Daniels to Washington. So an offseason of defenses and defensive coordinators studying the film, like what is Cliff Kingsbury's pivot? Like what's his plan B? What's his counter punch if these teams figure out what they're doing? Because what they did was actually, for the most part, pretty simplistic. Like it wasn't like they did anything overly exotic in terms of the types of plays that they were running. So I'm interested to see how they kind of adapt to that. And the same thing happened to Philadelphia. Like Philadelphia had that lull in the middle there between these two Super Bowls where they kind of got figured out. They ran the same like half a dozen plays most of the time, and teams sort of kind of got a feel for it and got a beat on it, and they had to hire Kellen Moore and spice it up and change it.
The other part I would worry about with Washington is the durability for Daniels. A lot of people were wondering how he would hold up because he doesn't look like he's all that thick.
And he doesn't like sliding.
And they ran him a lot.
Yeah.
So is he going to be like Lamar Jackson? And like you can run him a lot every year and for the most part get away with it? I know Lamar missed some time.
Yeah.
In the last couple of seasons, not last year, the previous ones. But generally, those kinds of quarterbacks get nicked up and banged up. They slow down. Lamar Jackson has been able to be elite for a long time. He's the outlier. There are not a lot of guys that play like that do that.
Like I'm thinking back to Robert Griffin, who had a good first year.
He had a great rookie.
And was that just injuries?
Devastating injury.
Ripped up his knee in the playoffs.
I find it hard to believe that a rookie's a finished product.
Your boy's father.
Jaden Daniels looked that good.
It's the field. The grass
It's hard to believe that he's not going to improve, at least marginally, as he gets more experience and sees different defenses. And I think after last year, he should have so much confidence that that's such a big part of being a quarterback that you can overcome mistakes. You're not going to fall into the mental doldrums if things aren't going your way. But he's just such an explosive player, and his downfield accuracy and ability to make plays, it's uncanny. But we'll get a close look at him there this summer, and if you're around, come check him out. Let's go out to Fresno.
Check it out.
Hello, Spee on the Patriots
What's
hotline.
going on?
Hello.
What's up, Spee?
I've been holding on to an off-season question for you guys for a couple of months, and so today seems like as good a day as any. Unfortunately it's football related, so I can't disappoint Evan, but we'll see. But so like the situation is, your offense is at your own 2-yard line, and so you have tons of incentive to try and draw the defense off sides, get neutral zone infraction, get some breathing room. And so in this case, the offense has like an unfair advantage because if they get called for that false start, it's only half the distance. You go from the 2-yard line to the 1-yard line. You get penalized at 1 yard, but you kind of steal the other 4 yards that should have been penalized.
Yep.
So why not tack those other 4 yards onto the first down marker? So if it's 1st and 10, offense at their own 2, offense false starts, make the penalty. You have the half the distance, so scrimmage goes back to the 1-yard line, and you would play first down, but the line to gain gets bumped from the 12-yard out to the 16-yard line.
I see what you're saying.
Spee, how often does this happen in an NFL game?
So definitely minutia.
It happened in the postseason. It happened in the postseason like twice. That's when I thought about this.
It happened in the postseason twice? When?
Yes, this past year. I can't remember when. I'm not Paul.
Well,
okay. False starts.
I'll take your word for it.
False starts when you're backed up near your goal line. Yeah, they happen. But is that a problem? Is that like an issue in the league?
I don't know. I mean, it's
unfair.
Why is it unfair?
Well, I'm more with it.
If the defense gets called, it's a 5-yard penalty.
Right.
Whereas if in the case that the offense is within its own.
So what happens when the offense has the ball in a 3rd and goal from the 1 and the defense jumps offside?
which was
So
what
that was
happened.
going to be
Which
my
happens a
follow-up
lot more
question,
than the offense
because
getting the false starts, by the way.
Especially with the tush push.
I agree, and that's why my follow-up was going to be like, maybe there's not an analogous solution at the other end of the field when the offense has the advantage.
Well, the referee,
I couldn't quite figure that out, and I was going to.
Hockley Jr. just threatens to.
You could do that. It's in the rule book.
Just make it a touchdown because I forget the phrase that he used, but the palpably unfair act or something
no,
like that.
that's actually in the rule book. Yeah, you can do that.
Palpable.
Right? Wasn't it some kind of nonsense like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's in the rule book that if a team continuously jumps offside to try to stop like a sneak, like the tush push or something like that,
I'm gonna finger wag.
The ref can literally
next
give a
time it
touchdown. I don't
happens,
know why he's
mister.
mocking it. It literally can happen.
Because it's stupid.
It's in the rule book.
I know it's in the rule book. There's a lot of things that are stupid in the rule
Why
book.
is that
That's
stupid?
one of them.
No, it's not. They went offside like 5 times in a row.
Right.
Let them
deal with it.
What do you mean deal with it? Run the damn play. Stop jumping offside. Deal with it. It's in the rule book.
Thanks, B. Appreciate it. Interesting. I just was reminded of the famous footage of Bill Belichick talking to the late Marquise Hill and kind of grilling him on the spot, a window into what Belichick seemed to always do, where what happens if the offense or what happens if the defense goes offside? And you can tell Marquise Hill is a little.
They lose 6 inches.
go
If
back.
the offense goes,
Right.
it's first and goal from the 6. There's
So
a big
it's
difference.
Huge incentive there to try to draw them offside. So.
I would also say though that not to keep picking on speed, but the half the distance to the goal, like it doesn't feel like a lot tangibly, like as terms of a number. But like when you think about the fact that the quarterback, like there's the line, and then the quarterback's under center, so now his feet are in the end zone versus not. Like it's a bigger difference than you think. Yeah.
Let's grab Eldred here. Hey, Eldred.
It's in the rule book.
Oh, I know.
Hey, Alex. Hey, fellas. How y'all doing?
Hey,
good. How are you?
good.
I'm doing all right. Paul, I agree with you, man.
I agree too.
7 to 8 wins. I feel great. You know, they're in the right direction going up. But I would love a playoff push, but that's hoping too much. But
I'm certainly not going to be upset if they just make the playoffs and don't advance in the playoffs. I'll be thrilled.
I won't be upset. I just
It's like
have
Bizarro
to be
Paul.
going in the right direction.
Yeah, you'll know it.
Yeah.
You'll know it.
But-
Evan
but-
said it right. You'll know it when you if May is throwing
You
for
did.
No,
Has
you
a
see
look
it.
to it.
Yeah.
Has a look to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Other question is that tackle they signed. Is he backup or is he going to be compete for left tackle or whatever?
We're talking about Durant.
Yes, you're
Yasir
Durant.
I think
He's
yeah.
not going to make. the
Yeah,
team.
Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Thanks,
Sorry.
Eldred.
He can make the team as a backup.
I don't see it.
But I think that there's everybody. I believe everybody's going to get a chance at left guard. Like left guard is,
Yeah.
we're going to throw 10 names into a hat, and whichever name comes out is going to be the victor. And we have no sacred cows. There's no recent draft picks or anything like that are just going to get it by default. Do I think he'll win the job? No, but I think his name's going to be in that ring just like everybody else's.
Yeah. Cole Strange getting plenty of run there. Like to
Strange,
see what he can do.
Sal, I
Um,
assume Layden Robinson will be heard from at some
Tyrese
point.
Robinson.
Tyrese
Robinson,
getting
Jared
some looks
Wilson.
too. Yeah, I think. Well, you said at the top with Jared Wilson, or was that during our
There's our
training
yeah,
camp
there's
preview?
our-
They mixed together. Interesting guy. I just like to see him in the mix. Does he get involved at center or at left guard? And I would guess when we get into camp that like you said, it's going to be maybe a new face there a lot. Come out.
I don't
now
know if it's
him.
going to be at the start of the season because he's missed some time here in the run up as a
Yeah.
rookie. I think Jared Wilson will be a starter this year. I don't know when, but I think he'll be a starter.
Listening to some of the, I did the write up of his when we did all those features, and like listening to some of the offensive line, the coaches down in Georgia, and then also Duke Manyweather is working with him privately now during this time of year. Like he's just gushing about the traits, like and about the talent that Jared Wilson has. So to Paul's point, he's a younger prospect. He's only 21 years old. He only had 1 year starting at Georgia. Now he's behind the 8 ball with whatever this injury is that's been holding him out of the spring. So I don't know if it's going to be right away, but just based off of what people glowingly about the traits, just, this guy's got oozing with talent. So at some point you have to put it all together, but he's definitely one of their more talented guys.
All right, well, nobody's food's here, but I think we're going to take a break anyway. First, though, I want to tell you about Brunt, which I think I'm going to bust the boots out this weekend, get working in those. They look great. But Brunt, based right here in New England, Brunt Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that help design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, they let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Pats or with coupon code PATS. Coming up, a little bit about the Chargers game, a little bit from Craig James, one of the key guys from the 1985 team. We'll see you after the break.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply. With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student.
It's time now for another episode of Pats from the Past podcast, where we travel down memory lane with the former Patriot great. And who better to join us today than number 32, CJ Craig James, one of the OG member of the Pony Express, right? Along with Eric Dickerson.
Absolutely.
Which we're going to talk about, because how can you talk to Craig James without talking about that before his Patriots career?
Anything that gets me back to high school, Matt. You know,
That's great.
We're going to talk
Craig,
about it.
thanks for joining us, man. This is going to be fun.
Privilege. You know, I walk in this stadium and I'm cracking up because I'm back in the 80s, right? And when I walked up to Sullivan Stadium, you know, we didn't have no film room like this.
Right.
It wasn't even a thought back then.
Right. But Craig, you said you were here last June. Explain that. Why were you here for Tom Brady Day?
Well, I got to get the invitation to come in for the Brady celebration, which was just remarkable. But I wanted to see Dante Scarnecchia because Scar and I, we were back together at SMU. He was here when I was playing for the Patriots. He was, you know, like a legend. He's been here since before Billy Sullivan bought the team, right? Scar's just one of those legendary guys, and I got a chance to speak with him and see him. But what a great night that was. I was so proud to be an alum. What a privilege to be a part of the Patriots organization. I sent a handwritten note to Mr. Kraft and just said, man, what an awesome night and a display of the fans. The fans here in New England showed off last year in June.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're really happy with the way that whole night, because a lot of people in the organization had a lot to do with that. So we felt like that was a really strong night for the entire organization, and I'm glad that so many alums came back for that. There was a lot of people from a lot of different eras that took part in that, and I think it was a huge success.
Well, you know, it's like I had a chance to see Tony Collins and Doug Flutie and a bunch of my teammates that I had not seen in years. You know, you have to walk up nowadays 40 years later and say, hey, Craig James, good to see you. Who are you?
Yeah, but I tell you what, Craig, I'm not like, you don't look a little bit different. You look like Craig James. Maybe your hair's a little lighter, but that's about it. I was joking with you before we started that Eric could give you 10 or 15 snaps. I wonder if there's a halfback option play that maybe one that you could do if pitch it out there. I think you could probably still get a first down off of that, couldn't you?
Thank you very much. I'd be really good with pregame warm-up and pat and go. If somebody hit me, I would cry.
That's funny. Like I said, to kick things off, I think people here in New England are somewhat versed on the legend of how it began. But the idea that two kids who went to high school in Texas, two of the best at their position, could be recruited and play for the same college and be so prolific, I mean, that story never gets old, does it? The Pony Express at SMU with you and Eric Dickerson?
We've been nearly 50 years friends. We love each other. We're like brothers. And the fact that now we can look back on it and realize what we did was really unique. And someone asked me, the media made a big deal about it. I had won the Vince Lombardi NFL Offensive Player of the year after Eric had been the NFL MVP. And they said, how did two guys go to the same team in Dallas at SMU? How did that happen? I said, it was Dallas. It was Ron Meyer, our head coach at the time. A lot of energy. But it just, as Eric and I say, the Pony Express, we were better together.
This is my favorite game. I was at this game as a fan. I was right in back of your bench. Chargers fans were talking a lot. They went 14-2, MVP, LaDainian Tomlinson. Kind of a slog throughout the game. But you guys kept it close enough to set up this second to last drive here that Brady led them on.
Yeah, this is a really good football team, San Diego. I mean, we had a decent year. They had an exceptional year, and their defense was extremely talented. Their front was really physical, really good rushers. This was, Merriman was, that was his
lights out.
Yeah, that was the height of his career there. And I don't know how many times Tom got hit in this game, but it was a lot, and it wasn't, that's no slight on our guys. It just, they were, you can see them, they're coming, and they brought it all day, and difficult team to play, and we're on the road, loud stadium, but I think this says a lot about him. He's been hit, a number of times already. It's the fourth quarter, and he knows he's going to get hit right now, but he hangs in there and waits all the way until Gaffney, is going to clear, and then, there he goes. He's getting bumped as he's finishing his throw, and again, another big play to kind of get us moving here. Late in the game, and this was a very gritty performance.
Yeah, the ability to move in the pocket while never taking his eyes off the coverage, off the receivers is, I just think, different than most of the other guys. I mean, I'm not going to tell you he's the only guy that does it, but it's amazing how he's able to move around and buy time without taking his eyes off the field.
Yep, and this is a really good example too of, he sees the corner's going over here, so it's some version of man-to-man coverage, and he if you watch his head, he peeks over here just to check the release of the tight end. I think this is Watson. He peeks over here, and if Watson would have got a really clean release on this, he would have given him the ball. But look how fast his head's he's already made that decision. He processed information at such a rate of speed that, it allowed you to, as an offensive game planner or play caller, to put a lot of people into the pattern because he could digest that type of information quickly. And here he is at the end, again, a lot of little things right. It's 2nd and 1, so we actually can run the ball. So he does a great job here. He didn't get enough credit for this. It was a great play faker, really good ball fake, to the back. And you see all the, everybody's stepping up. We're trying to get everybody in the line of scrimmage. Well, that has a lot to do with Tom and the back too. And here's Tom, and you can see almost everybody's outside of the end zone except the one guy he wants to throw it to. Again, another subtle move in the pocket. We don't convert this if he doesn't move in the pocket and then make a good throw on the run. But great execution under pressure. And like always, already knowing we got to go for 2. So he's moved on from this play already, and Rashee's hardly caught the ball yet. So it's just such a great example of how quickly he was thinking through each situation in the game.
And now, great moments in history.
Yeah, how big is that tub that's in there?
Wow, this is
Matt
really
Morrell?
good.
It's got to weigh 15 pounds. It's enormous. Did you see that? That's like an ice cream store type size.
Megan Thee Stallion
Paul's taking that.
didn't eat
Oh,
that
that's
one.
Paul's. Yeah. Oh, okay. My bad.
I was
Megan Thee Stallion?
I was trying to cut that off at the pass. I knew that was coming, so I was going with the Megan Thee Stallion.
You go with the giant jug of ice cream challenge. Like how much can you finish? Could you finish the whole thing?
Just know that yes, the answer is yes.
A quart? No.
If I wanted
pint?
to,
yeah, I could handle a pint.
If I wanted to, the answer is yes.
I have to cut down on my ice cream because it binds me up.
Yeah. Whoa.
Diet Pepsi
Paul
all
just
over
did
the
a
studio.
thing.
Oh, you came very close. You came very close there, my friend.
Ice cream binds him up.
Yeah.
I love ice cream.
So I have to be careful.
It's one of my favorite things.
You are full of it. That's
Ice
for
cream
sure.
and opioids. I have to be careful.
Yes.
The opioids get you?
Yeah.
I don't respond well to opioids.
Shouldn't joke about opioids.
You are beautiful.
That's another great moment from
All right, we're back here on Patriots Unfiltered. The emails are rolling in. You can read some of them, I suppose.
Why don't you read some?
Why don't you
I'd like
host?
to. I'm hosting, so I get to choose.
I definitely
We're
went
just
back
gonna
and forth.
gloss over the ice cream and opioids.
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
That was a good Fred line.
Okay.
I love the ice cream though. We're in
It's a
prime ice
great
cream
it's a
weather.
great line, and I'm not saying that
binds
you're
me up.
wrong for being so amused. I'm just so
I've never heard
like
it before.
it's a Fredism. Like right as he said it, Evan just said that's such a Fred line, and he's
the most
right.
Fred
That's a
thing
Fred
ever.
line.
Like he just like says the quiet part out loud. Like
Then he looks-
ice cream affects
gives
all
you
of
the
our
eyebrows.
stomachs, and no, you don't need to talk about it.
And
Like,
opioids.
I don't know where that came from. We got an email though from Felipe in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Good
Ooh.
spot.
Hola.
Good job to Paul and Evan for holding down the fort on Tuesday. Really enjoyed the show. I've been waiting for this quieter period in the news cycle to bring up a question that's been on my mind for a while. It concerns a point that comes up repeatedly on PU, the idea we need to wait 2 or 3 years to know if a draft class is a good one. In my view, after 2 or 3 years, we find out if the player is good. And that's not necessarily the same as knowing if the draft pick was valuable. The true value of the draft pick lies in the player's contributions during the years he's still on an affordable rookie contract. If a player becomes a regular contributor after 2 to 3 years, the main advantage is the team's exclusive negotiating rights, which, considering the current level of competition and player movement, is a modest benefit at best. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. You guys still feel pretty strongly about that? It takes a few years to really assess a draft class. I know Sony Michel is a great example of a first-round pick who was part of a Super Bowl winning team and scored some touchdowns and rode to that Super Bowl, but ultimately didn't probably live up to the value of a first-round pick, but you got a Super Bowl that he played a part of. That's where my head always goes to when we talk about these arguments about draft value and those kind of things.
I understand what he's saying. There's a difference between grading the draft in the moment based off of the value of the pick and where the player was picked versus maybe a consensus ranking of where the player was supposed to be picked or something along those lines. I think are two different things. Like how you actually cash in the asset of the draft pick versus what the player pans out to be are two separate things. To me, it's two separate conversations.
Me too.
I actually disagree, though, with the premise that it takes 2 to 3 years to evaluate a draft because, at least in my experience, I think pretty early on if a guy's got it or not. Like, I don't think it takes very long, even in training camp, to realize Christian Gonzalez is a dude. Like, that guy moves differently than the other people that are out here on the field with him. Whereas in my early years in the beat, Sony Michel, N'Keal Harry, like, there wasn't the juice that you would expect to see out of a early draft pick. And I remember Julian Edelman even talking about it a little bit, and he didn't name names, but just inferring from what he was talking about, I kind of feel like he was talking about N'Keal Harry when he was just like, this guy was a first round pick. Like, you just didn't really see it. Yeah. So I understand that it can go that way where in his rookie year, he has a really good rookie year. And like maybe Mac Jones would be an example of this since we were just talking about him, where good rookie year and then it fell off after that. So and therefore it takes 2 to 3 years to evaluate the pick fully. But I think early on in a lot of NFL players' careers, you can tell whether or not the guy's got the talent to be at this level.
Too much to feel a little positive about Travion Henderson based on those observations for a few OTA practices with no pads and just kind of watching him run.
Oh, yeah. But he can clearly run. But, yeah, we haven't seen anything. But I would agree with Evan's overall assessment. So I'll let that analysis, the whole, 2-3 year, whatever. Yeah, I mean, do guys get off to slow starts and become really good players? Sure, and vice versa. There's guys that make contributions right away and then they sort of peter out. But what I get annoyed with sometimes is, to me, the lack of differentiation between a guy who contributes or plays and that being considered a good pick. Like, sometimes guys get opportunities to play and they fill a role because they're the best a team has at a particular role, and he plays. And it's considered a good pick. Well, was he any good? Or was he just sort of filling space? You know, and I'm not necessarily thinking about Patriots right now. I'm just saying in general with draft picks, I think too often someone looks down and says, well, so-and-so started, 32 games the last 2 years for his teams. That's a good pick. Yeah, but where was he in terms of the league? And then the second part of that is, like, we'll go back to N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry was not a good player for the Patriots, right?
From day one.
So it's a bad pick. I do think it's also part of his story that so many really good wide receivers were taken right after him. That makes it an even worse pick. You know, I think the emailer brought up an interesting point. When you look at draft picks, it's not just like, well, did you pick a good player? That's first and foremost. But what went around him? You know, did they miss out on really good players that they could have had? Because that makes it much worse. Now, some drafts are just not all that good. We went down one of those first rounds a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Remember we were reading off all the first round
The
picks, and
E.J.
like
Manuel
literally there was
draft.
like 5 guys that were any good in the whole first round. So if you miss one there, yeah, you didn't get one of the 5, but a lot of other teams didn't get, because there just wasn't a lot of talent that year.
Yeah.
But I do, like you brought up the Sony Michel thing. I'm sorry if I'm a little obnoxious. I'm going to go to Alex's. What did you say? I wasn't arrogant
I
yet
wasn't
as a fan. I wasn't an arrogant
in
fan
my
yet.
Pats fandom,
So
yes.
this is probably going to be arrogant. Mike Dussault could have been the running back, and they would have won that Super Bowl. Okay, Sony Michel did nothing other than carry the ball into the end zone a few times. Someone else would have done that. Some other NFL running back, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, could have been the running back, and they would have won the Super Bowl. That's not why they won the Super Bowl. They didn't win it because Sony Michel was just so special as a running back. You know, there was no difference when he was out there than Rex Burkhead. You know, so the fact that the injuries ended up shortening his career, to me, it wasn't a good pick. He wasn't a great player. I agree with Evan. There was no juice there.
Yeah, the dynamic ability didn't translate from, and maybe it was injuries and it was the knees and all that. But he was, Sony Michel was touted as like an Alvin Kamara type, like a dynamic college running back, and he just didn't have that kind of explosiveness or juice at the NFL level really from the beginning.
And full disclosure, I'll say I missed on it because I thought Alvin Kamara. I thought there was stuff there. I thought he had some juice there, and he didn't.
Yeah. So,
especially another angle of it is to look at it within the context of where the Patriots team was at that point, where they were desperate for good draft picks, and those 17, 18, 19, those drafts did really not much and not enough to help them long
And he
term.
contributed. He wasn't like, I wouldn't put him in like N'Keal Harry level of a bust, but I don't think that was a great first round pick.
In his defense, I would say though, like Deion Lewis had just moved on to Tennessee. They needed a volume back, and they were at a point in time where they were with Brady and Belichick that they had luxury picks. Like they had the ability at the end of the first round to just take a draft pick that wasn't necessarily a pillar of the franchise moving forward, because that's where they were. So they also had 2 first-round picks that year.
Yeah.
And so
Missed on them
it
both.
was the second first-round pick with Sony Michel. So it's like at the point in time, if I was evaluating that in that prism, like to the emailer's point of evaluating what like the worth of the pick versus like how the player panned out, I don't think it was a bad pick in that sense, because they needed a running back. They needed to fill a void. They needed to have somebody that was going to eat up carries in their backfield after they lost Deion Lewis, and they got a guy that did it at a semi. Now Paul's right; like anybody could have done it, but they needed somebody, and he did it.
And he was the guy.
Yeah, right. So in that respect,
Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
Quick email
Alex,
here.
look that one up.
Yeah.
Johnny Bravo. Look that one up.
This is from
Cartoon Network. What do you think?
Brady Bunch.
This one's from George.
I was thinking Cartoon Network
what?
too.
I was like, what?
Email here from George in Maryland. Got to bring it up. 85. My favorite experience happened on December 22nd, 1985. Patriots versus Bengals. I was 12. It was my first game, I think, and you're correct. Robert Weathers scored on a touchdown on 4th and 1 from the 50. That sealed it. Eason threw a 50-yard TD to Stanley Morgan. The energy and the crowd was insane. They pulled down the goalpost and carried it out of the stadium and actually got shocked. Great game to bring up.
Dude got electrocuted.
Yeah, were you there at that game? No,
I do remember everything he's talking about though.
But it's another reason why I'm kind of diving on 85. Evans, talked about it. They had a chance to win the division in Miami. They went down to Miami, tough back and forth game. They had a chance to win. They couldn't get a stop. They ended up losing. And then they came back, and last week of the season, they've got to beat Cincinnati at home to make the playoffs. And a lot of the players that I talked to from that season said that was one of the best moments of the season. Of course, the best being beating the Dolphins a few weeks later in the playoffs. But great email, George. I'm sure that was a great atmosphere to be around. Let's jump back to the phones, though, and we got Patty from Agawam. Hey, Patty.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to get your guys' opinion on how many games you think they win this year. I know it's a controversial take, especially after Christian's phone call, but and I'm going to throw a broad range out there. I think 7 to 10 wins is reasonable. Evan and I called in last week on Catch 22 and said I'd be happy with 7 wins as long as they don't start out 7-0 and just tank the rest of the year. But I could see them hovering around 500. I mean, realistically, I just look at what they had at talent last year, the lack of coaching, experienced coaching, and just juxtapose that to this year's coaching staff, how they just got so much good experience. Vrabel, we've seen in Tennessee. He knows how to coach. He knows what he's doing. He's a good situational coach, too. So I think doubling the win total over the last 2 years, I'd be happy with. And I think they could win 10 games, but I'd be happy with 7 as long as it looks good down the stretch. And I want to see what you guys think. What sort of range do you think they win this year? That's all I got. I'll take it out there, guys.
Thanks, Patty.
Yeah. Sure.
It's like the Bledsoe thing, second season, playing well down the end. Wasn't the greatest year.
Second season?
For first season.
10 wins, bro.
Yeah.
10 wins.
That's what we're hoping for.
Get your facts straight. You come to 11's locker.
The 90s.
Don't come at his boy like that.
That's a Teddy Bruschi line. Get your facts straight when you come to 54's locker. He yelled at Andy.
Email here from Travis in West Virginia. Deuce, I wrote Paul on Tuesday and told him he was a better host than you. But because he didn't read my email, I'm changing my mind. You're better. But then again, here we are 40 minutes into the show and you haven't taken a single call or read a single email. Your When I Was a Boy stories aren't that interesting. Thanks, Travis in West Virginia. I'd just like to say in my defense, we usually don't take calls and emails in the first 40 minutes. It's about the 45 mark.
Get to 45.
I find your When You Were a Kid stories very interesting.
I found your stories boring as hell. No, I found them interesting. I don't like to take calls at least a half hour.
Yeah, you gotta
45
set
minutes.
the table, as Fred likes to say.
If there's like an email that's very topical to something that we happen to be discussing at the time, then I'll throw that in there. And I purposely didn't read that email for obvious reasons.
Yeah, because it was nice.
Because he was
And to be
complimenting
fair,
me.
the emails are being forwarded to you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they were all here. I could have read one
like,
anytime I wanted.
We had.
Don't blame
we had
this
a
on
lot.
me.
Okay.
Don't blame this on me.
Never
What the
mind.
hell?
I wasn't blaming you necessarily. I was blaming Fred not being here with the Surface.
It
I
is
almost said laptop, but it's
it is a
Surface.
challenge, and I will admit that I make fun of Fred for it all the time.
Also, Fred spaces out and just will be reading
I
all the
know.
emails.
Yeah,
It's hard to read the emails
Yeah.
and pay attention to what's being
He
discussed.
says all the time, I need someone to read them for
You
me.
got to talk amongst yourselves.
This is
while
why
I
we don't
find
do
an
a lot of
email.
emails on Catch 22 because it's only the two of us. So
Yeah.
on top of the fact that I would have to.
Plus, that would cut into your analysis time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
film breakdown.
God forbid.
2 hours straight,
No
no
Utah
breaks of just straight analysis.
Well, along those
obviously.
lines, Evan, Nate emailed in, and
Nate-
in his PS, he just said, "Tell Evan I apologize for not calling into the latest Catch 22.
It's
He was
okay,
busy."
Nate. I forgive you. Please, don't get thrown out of school because you're
Nate?
Yeah,
calling
Nate-
into Catch
Nate in
22.
It's summer
Connecticut?
vacation.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Nate was
Summer
on the line,
vacation.
but he hung up.
I am genuinely worried that Nate's teachers one of these days is gonna be like, Nate, get off the phone. You know?
The rest of the
Imagine
email.
he just has like an AirPod in. Like
Yeah.
when I was a kid, we still had the
Sweatshirt,
wired headphones. So
yeah.
I would like wire the headphone through
Yeah.
my sleeve and like just.
Or you put the hoodie up and then you
Well-
wire the headphone through the hoodie.
Oh.
I didn't want to be disrespectful. I didn't wear my hood in class, but I did I guess I was still being disrespectful, but it was very discreet.
I mean, I did. You were
But
still
if you just like, this is very like, you would think I'm listening to the teacher, but I'm not.
Listen, kids. You
Tactical
put the
disrespect.
earbuds in, and then you put the hoodie up, and then they don't know that you have headphones in. Okay, I
no
know.
hoodies. No
kids,
hoodies in class.
in class.
Kids these
Don't do
days,
that.
I know you don't know how to
Put it up your
hood up
sleeve
for
like
sure.
me. Be a pro.
Well, let me read the rest of this email from Nate because I think it's right in line with what you guys are talking about. He said, I apologize for not calling in to PU. I originally did call in, but I'm in a movie theater and the movie is starting, so I'm taking the silent option of talking to you guys, and that's an email. My question
That's
is...
been a great movie. He's emailing.
Sergeant Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, tell us what you're seeing, Nate. I hope it's good.
Jaws.
Hopefully I'm getting this in before the previews end. If it's been 40 minutes, you probably still have enough time. My question for you guys
Jurassic
is,
World.
do you think Terrell Jennings will have an opportunity to fight for a roster spot, either on the 53 or the practice squad?
Yes.
I know he's someone who has not been mentioned by you guys yet or often. Do you think he has a chance to fight? I mean, I liked him. I just liked how he looked. I thought he ran hard. I think he's a little buried right now. I was thinking about the running backs, going back to your question, Paul, about what positions you feel good about or what do you feel concerned about. And I wasn't quite, like, the running back group jumped to my mind, but I wasn't quite ready to, like, put them in the forefront because I do have, like, can Ramondre bounce back and fix some of the ball security stuff. But, you know, if he does and he gets back to the player that he, you know, has shown flashes of being over this early years of his career, you've got Travion Henderson, who I talked about. We're all excited about him. And I just think Antonio Gibson's that perfect, like, third back. You know, he's a professional. He's probably not going to, you know, win or lose you any games, but I think he's you know, can do both things and can fill in if one of those guys got hurt. So I'm a little bit excited about the running back position, but I don't know about Terrell Jennings. It might take an injury for him as much as I liked watching him play last summer.
Yeah, you know, my boy Lan Larison's going to have
Lan
something to say
Larison, there
about
you
that.
go.
So, but I agree with your you know, analysis as a whole on the running backs. Now, to be on maybe on Paul's side of the street a little bit, it does worry me that they're going to be too running back centric. I don't want the whole offense to be run the ball, and throw swing passes to Travion Henderson. But on paper, that's probably one of the better position groups that they have on the roster. It's a strength of the team. And Ramondre is still a good player. I know he had the issues last year with ball security and things like that, but if they clean up the blocking in front of him, I think he's going to be a good player for them. And then Travion Henderson, I think, has a chance to be a really good player for them. So that tandem has a really good shot of being a great tandem together. Yeah. You know, and really complementary and different skill sets that fit together really nicely. So I would say that's probably the best position group they have on offense right now.
Yeah. My question for you guys about that, I feel like I didn't watch much of Gibson when he was with the Commanders, but when he came in, I remember reading like great pass catching back, and I feel like we didn't really utilize him in that way.
It's a great question.
Very much, if not at all, last year. So do you think there's even room for improvement there?
Well, I wonder if it's going back. Is Josh still interested in having clearly defined roles of this is our early down horse who's going to, get the tough yards, and then we have a receiving back, and that's what we all assumed. Like, to your point, I think he played receiver in college.
Yep.
So that was what we assumed, but they've gotten away from that, and I kind of think rightly so. Like, I like just the idea of being able to throw it back out there, and it's not, so obvious. But even James White excelled in that role and showed that even if it's obvious that you're the passing down back and that they're going to throw, you can still be good enough to.
I think it's about
impact.
the system, and I think McDaniels wants to throw the ball to the backs. He's always had that, whether it was Vereen or White or going back to Kevin Falk, like Danny Woodhead, that they want to throw the ball to the backs. And I don't think last year, I don't know if it was because Drake May isn't necessarily a guy who's looking to check it down and throw it to the backs, or if Alex Van Pelt's system didn't call for it as much.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make a debate about that. I'm not going to tell you you're right or wrong either way. What I would wonder about is it something that Drake May likes or wants to do? Because I know it's something Josh McDaniels wants to do.
Yeah.
We saw it a little bit in the spring.
We saw it in a good amount.
So
yeah.
maybe there's more of that now with mobile quarterbacks. Like, you are your own check down a lot of the time. So I think that comes into play where a guy like Drake May might want to just run instead of checking it down to the running back, because he kind of feels like I can make more yards if I just take off than versus throwing it to a running back for a 5-yard check down. So that you see that a lot with that style of quarterback, that there isn't as many true check downs over the course of a season. Like, I would imagine the amount of times that Josh Allen has checked the ball down is probably pretty low. Like, he's either looking to throw the ball 50 yards down the field, or he's looking to scramble or extend the play or something like that, and he's not looking to just take that profit underneath the defense for 4 or 5 yards like Brady would, because he can move. So there's a lot of that element of it too, but we saw it in the spring where they were hunting matchups with TreVeyon Henderson specifically, whether it's flexing him out or out of the backfield and getting him in linebackers in space and trying to just eat on that.
Yeah.
So like that's different than like checking the ball down. That's like a part of the play, first read type of thing.
Yeah, it's not just checkdowns. McDaniels wants to get the ball by design to the backs.
I mean, one of the most memorable plays Drake made was a throw to Ramondre Stevenson this spring. So
yeah. I mean, it's a big part of that offense. It's not necessarily as big of a part as the Alex Van Pelt or that West Coast offense. So I think there's a chance that volume is up a lot this year.
Good question from Brandon here. Brandon in Maine. Maybe spark some discussion. Tom Brady was never recognized for having a great arm or any other physical tools, but I always thought when watching him, he had a top 10, maybe even 5 to 7 arm. Especially during the second half of the dynasty, watching Brady throw, he could rip it 60 yards and put the ball on a line into tight windows. Sure, a lot was his mechanics, but he had underrated arm strength. Since Brady left, we have had a broken down Cam Newton, Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi, none of whom could really wow with their arm talent. When we drafted May, I recall many folks praising him for his arm, not just the mobility and ability to throw on the move off platform. However, since watching him last year, I see someone who is more middle of the league when it comes to arm talent and the ability to zip the ball into tight windows. What do you all think? Do you see him as a guy with a top 10 or 5 or 7 arm talent strength? Is he in the middle of the league, as I think? Is he bottom 15? I'm actually a big fan and believe in him as our starting future quarterback. I'm just questioning what I've heard against what I've seen in regards to his arm. Very interested to hear your thoughts.
High-end arm talent. Now,
I disagree on both counts. I think Brady entered the league not having being considered to have a great arm, and everybody immediately said his arm talent was undersold. Immediately. That was an immediate reaction to him.
You said that about your reaction to him in training camp.
First training camp. And a lot of people, that wasn't just because it was my observation. I mean, a lot of people said, he throws the ball fine. And Drake May can absolutely zip it into tight windows downfield. I agree with Evan. What'd you say? Top 5?
High end.
High-end arm talent.
I don't know if he has like Josh Allen, Jordan Love level, or like where those guys like can throw it like 80 yards. Like I don't know if he's got that kind of power in his arm, but the
whole 60-yard on a line thing, every guy in the league can do that. Like maybe except for Mac Jones. But everybody can throw the ball. Everybody in the NFL can throw the ball a long way on a line. Like they have just ridiculous talent. Can you do it in a tight window? Can you
some of those throws that
can you do it under pressure?
He was throwing at Kendrick Bourne last year on the backside, or just like fitted into a keyhole. Like if that's not a tight window throw, I don't know.
That's what changes them.
Montana Young thing with
well, just about the accuracy. They're little flips to the flat. West Coast staple. Evan could probably break it down for 25 minutes, but
I won't bore you.
Please don't.
Belichick is breaking it down for us. This is like way back in the day. You used to have the media in for film sessions, and he's showing Roger Craig leak out into the flat on a little timing West Coast, third and 3. The snap, a little half roll, throw is on the run, and it's right on the outside shoulder. So Craig is catching Montana's pass while turning upfield, getting the first down by like a yard. Then they show the same play with Steve Young, and the throw's a little bit more to the middle of the frame, toward the back side, causes him to maybe break stride a little bit. Linebacker comes over and makes the tackle, and Bill says, that was the difference between Steve Young and Joe Montana.
That's it.
That's it.
Just that.
They're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So it's not like one of them stunk, but that was the difference, is the consistent ability to put the ball exactly where it needed to be. That's what Tom Brady did. Elite arm talent.
When Brady would talk about that, of like where he's trying to put the ball, it's exactly like that. You don't realize how accurate these guys are, and on the run, and with chaos happening.
And from a velocity standpoint, and a power standpoint, all of that stuff, he was definitely top of the league, and he was undersold coming out of college, but that went away quickly when people saw him actually play.
I'd say this is another semantics argument, but I think there's a difference between arm talent and power.
Yes.
And so like I separate those two things.
John
like,
Elway threw the ball harder than anyone I ever
right.
saw.
So like arm talent to me is like how many pitches you have. Like, can you put touch on the ball? Can you drive the ball? Can you drop it in the bucket? Can you throw a wheel route and you can just throw those pillowy, feathery passes right over the shoulder like that? Brady had that in spades. Like he could make any kind of throw, no matter what you needed, what it needed, whether it was air under it, whether it was velocity, straight line, whatever. You could do any of that. There's a difference between that and Joe Milton.
That's what I was just going to say.
Joe Milton can throw the ball 150 yards, but he can't throw it 5, right? So, like, that arm talent, in my opinion, is the ability to shift between those two gears. Like, knowing exactly how much weight to put on the ball, how much power to put on the throw. Like, if a guy's standing 5 yards away from you, you don't want to throw it 100 miles an hour at his face. You want to give him a nice, soft throw. Brady was really good at that. I actually think Drake May has some of that ability, where like he has some of that teardrop, drop the ball in the bucket on a go route, but he also has that ability to throw it through a keyhole. And I think those two things are very different. But I'm curious, like that's a curious email about like thinking Drake May's arm talent's middling, because I don't see that. I see somebody that has above average to really good.
I think all the rest of the stuff you could question, based on what you saw in year one.
Yeah.
We heard all of these different things, but I think that came as advertised.
Yeah.
The arm talent came as advertised. I agree with Ev.
Yeah. You guys were waiting for it. You knew there'd be a Jaws email that I had to read, of course, right? This is Rob in San Diego via Connecticut. Hi, all. A while back, I wrote in about hiring a lawyer for a traffic ticket after hearing about Paul's experience. Just wanted to follow up and say it worked. Ticket was completely thrown out. No fine, no traffic school, nothing. Shout out to you, Paul, there. Now for my way too early. Oh, wait, sorry. I don't want to skip the Jaws question. There are Jaws events where a projection screen is set up in the water and people watch it from boats, floats at night. Is that something you'd ever do?
No.
I would do it, but not really.
No, but I have
longing to.
I have seen those, but no, I do not. I do not have any interest in watching Jaws like from a float inside the water.
Now, if Evan could, and credit to Evan, who's really gone a long way. I mean, when I got my Lego, he thought the orca was an actual killer whale, and now he's taking pictures of the orca, sending us pictures. So,
did you see Richard Dreyfuss was at Edgartown?
Richard Dreyfuss?
He was at the Harbor View in Edgartown,
fancy
like over the weekend.
Who worked with Richard Dreyfuss?
That's where we stay.
Oh, bougie.
So Beth and I stay there.
It's like the #1 hotel on the island.
With the boys.
With Richard Dreyfuss, you could be catching a drink.
Right across from Lighthouse Beach. I didn't know you guys had that kind of money, Paul.
We don't. That's why we don't stay there.
It's like $500 a night.
Yeah,
that's why I have 270,000 miles.
Well, that's that bill never comes due there.
Quick question also from Rob, just if any Patriots alumni will be at open practices. He went with my kids last year, got to meet Marcus Cannon, which was awesome. Yes, there usually are almost always alumni signing. There'll be players signing after practice, which I think they brought back last year after a couple of years. They didn't maybe do signings. Maybe that was just a COVID thing. But yeah, plenty of alumni around, the cheerleaders, and me sitting hyping the crowd.
You might get to see Mike Giselle,
right?
Big day.
I don't know. That might be getting cut from the docket this year. We'll see.
They cut me from the docket last year because I was talking too much football.
Right.
They were like, "Can you tell Evan to cut down on actually analyzing what's going on in practice?"
That's why they got Barth. Barth does a better job.
My nephews were in line for Danny Amendola, and then the cheerleaders went by and they ran off. And then my cousin was like, "Do you guys know who you're standing in front of? Like, what the heck?"
The cheerleaders went by and they ran off.
They chose
so did Danny Amendola.
Good point.
Perfect. Let's head out to Vancouver, Canada. Sean. Hey, Sean, what's going on?
Hey, Mike, I got a couple of things. So one question I have, I remember Yasser Durant on the team in 2021, but I don't remember how he did. I know that he started one game at right tackle, but does anyone remember what he looked like? And the other thing, in terms of my expectations for this season, it's kind of like Evan. I don't have any expectations for wins or losses. It's more like how this team is going to look. Is there a clear path to what they're going to be like in the future? Do we see something where May is leading an offense that's getting better, and with a few more weapons, they actually could contend in the future for Super Bowl one day? So that's the kind of thing I'm hoping for is are we going to get on that path? So I'll take that offline. Thanks a lot. Go Pats.
Thanks, Sean. I get the general gist of it. I think it feeds into what Paul said. Like you'll kind of have a feel for it. Talked about the Philadelphia joint practice where if you had any illusions that this was the 2007 Patriots that you were watching last summer early on. That quickly derailed those dreams. And
well, we were in Green Bay the year before.
Yeah, and
there was some juice that very first practice, especially. And I feel like the juice, when I say that, it's always about the offense, right? Like if the offense had a good day and actually showed some life, then we were a little bit excited. But don't you remember Mac Jones to Devontae Parker up the sideline there in Green Bay? And like I was like, oh wow, that was like we won the practice. Like, whoa. Like, I couldn't believe it. Then they won 4 games. Yeah. So, like, you know,
I was watching the defense.
This is when I would make fun of them, Alex.
Yeah.
I would make fun of them when they come back. I go, I didn't see it. It didn't happen. I didn't see it.
No, that first practice, and I always, the one, like, caveat to that is that there was definitely pressure on the quarterback that they just kind of weren't counting. Like, they weren't, like, stopping the play. Right. You know, and so like he had pressure in his face, and instead of blowing it dead like that it was a sack, they just kind of were letting the play continue. So I probably should have put more emphasis on that than I did at the time.
Like last year when we watched against Philadelphia,
right.
We counted all those plays as sacks.
Yeah, right.
Now they completed passes on a lot of those.
Yeah.
But we said, well, there was like 7 sacks on that 2-minute drive that went right down the field.
Yeah.
But when they did the scrimmage in the joint practices in Green Bay, the first day of joint practices, the Patriots won the scrimmage. Like they had the better team that day, and the 2 seasons could not have been more polar opposite. Like Green Bay was a good team, and the Patriots were terrible.
I was watching the defense, of course, but I got the full Jordan Love experience watching that, because there'd be throws that you were like, holy crap! Yeah. He would chuck it downfield to Christian Watson, and he'd jump up and make a great play, and then all of a sudden he'd skymail one. Like, whoa, where was that one? I think you saw Josh Jacobs coming in last year, like, helped some of those problems, but still some inconsistencies there. Boston Cream with a surprisingly boring question, normal question, and he says, Alex, thank you for joining these plebes after returning from your elevated lifestyle of luxury you've been upholding this summer. When you guys are able, how do you all vacation, relax, and take time away from the team? Because this is the time
away from
to relax,
football?
Get away. Evan,
okay.
Are you doing anything special over the next couple of weeks or anything?
Nothing at all.
Anything stressing you out?
I opened the door for him on Tuesday, and he clearly didn't want to go through, so I let it go.
No. We'll leave that away. I myself spent a couple days up in Maine this week. It was wonderful. Got a little pool time, but I've been telling the guys, like, I'm debating. Usually this time of year, I take like little pockets of like 3-4 day weekends, but then I usually come in, try to do the shows, try to get some stuff done Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and I'm starting to wonder if I need to take like a prolonged period to like totally unplug. But right now, I kind of like staying a little connected. Come and do this show, try to stay sharp. We do, we're writing stuff and making training camp preview videos and those kind of things. So for me, it's just beach, ice cream. Try to get out on the water as much as possible. That's it. You got to make it now, because once we get going, it's don't stop till February, right, Paul?
Well, I feel like I haven't stopped. I need like vacations from my vacations. I was in Charlotte.
It's tough to be Alex.
I went to Charlotte this weekend, landed late Sunday night, woke up at 5, went to New York City, got back for the show today. Tomorrow night, I'm going to the Cape.
What was in Charlotte?
My best friend since first grade, and like when I say best friend, I know there's a lot of.
We've been best friends since first grade.
Actually, one of my best friends. She turned 30, and so 4 of us. Not a wedding, but she is getting married, so we did do a dress fitting for her. And actually, I got asked to be a bridesmaid.
There was a little bit of an eye roll there.
No, this is
for those of you
genuine
that don't know
love.
me,
I would never
I'm
say
Alex.
a poor thing about this girl or this wedding. But it was her 30th birthday, and we surprised her. We like showed up to a dinner reservation, and we were like, "Hey, is this seat taken?" And she lost her mind and cried, and it was fun. But it was like I haven't partied like that since college.
Oh,
nice.
Me neither.
She can do her toast at the wedding. For those of you who don't know, I was intricately involved in good Jules hunting.
Alexis and I met on the school bus in
Here's
first
the award
grade.
that we won in New York City.
And I still remember
when
that
we moved to Boston. We moved there together.
Christian just chiming in on the Pats Chargers 06 game. What a game, all-timer for sure. I remember Brady post-game saying everything they tried on offense didn't work. They basically knew they had to scrap the game plan after the first drive, kept trying different things throughout the game to generate offense. Crazy how good those Charger teams were, by the way. They were loaded, however, with Schottenheimer and then Norv Turner leading them, they just never had a shot. LOL. Yeah, I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson was just 6-7 yards a carry. He just was such a handful to deal with, catching the ball out of the backfield, anything in space. You know, Vrabel had one tackle on him where he just like hit his leg. I mean, he would have been gone. It just felt like they were holding on, Patriots, that whole game.
They were.
Like they so often did. And then, you give yourself a chance to make a play down the end, and there you go. Keep going through these emails. Wedding talk. Mitch in Saratoga. I was at a wedding this past weekend, and the maid of honor started her speech out. For those of you who don't know me, couldn't help but chuckle out loud, which resulted in some dirty looks in my direction. I knew Alex would be disappointed.
That's great.
That's perfect.
It's great that email was there.
That's what they do. Another one, Kyle from Pembroke, as I continue to just crush these emails, Travis in West Virginia.
All right.
Good afternoon. My favorite moment was the first preseason game of Mac Jones' rookie year. My best friend and I tailgated, had a great time in the 200s, and the atmosphere of hope was intoxicating. I remember in the fourth quarter, the crowd was chanting, "We want Mac," because we were down one score, and when a rookie Stevenson took a last-second sweep for a long touchdown to win the game, the crowd went wild. It was a great experience.
Sounds fun.
And even though the Mac era didn't go well, I still remember that moment of hope and excitement.
Was it Washington or the Giants?
Preseason game?
Yeah, Ramondre had
He said it was the first preseason.
It was like a 70-yard touchdown. I remember.
Yeah.
Down the sideline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
No.
Preseason game. Jesus.
Yeah, tough. Let's get you to a regular season game. You know.
I'm
that counts.
I'm psychotic, but I'm not that psychotic.
I was going to say, you remember everything else, but...
Oh, I went to preseason games all the time. I loved it. I'd sit up there with the roster, my binoculars, taking notes.
Fourth quarter, Evan's dad's like, we got to leave. We got to go, Evan. He's like, Dad.
I got to cut ties with him now. I just have to cut ties.
Yeah.
Dad, it's just getting good. The 4 stringers are going in. We're going to find the gems.
So I'm like that.
We separate the
Your
men
dad
from the
was
boys.
like, let's get the hell out of here.
I'm like that with all
traffic.
sports, and like when the Celtics, like when they clear the bench and they get the stay ready crew in there. Like my dad's like, all right, you ready to go? And I'm like, what do you mean? JD Davidson's playing. Like you got to see how he does. Baylor's out there.
Evan's begging for taco.
Yeah. He's like, can we please
It's a little different when they're actually guys that are on the team. The guys that are playing those preseason games.
Oh no,
Sonny's Car Wash All Stars. I mean, what are we
I
doing?
had the binoculars. I had the popcorn.
Dad, this Gunnar Olszewski, I'm telling you.
Yeah, this guy's got a chance.
He'll be out of the league in 2 years, I promise.
Time for us to provide a little help now for Theo and Frazier, who are apparently in driver's ed. They're big fans of the show, and they just want to know, if you see a moose in the middle of the road, what should you do? A, slow down but still hit the moose. B, hit the moose. C, stop and maintain a 100-foot distance. D, stop close to the moose. Nice little refresher on the rules. Anybody know what to do with the moose?
Stop
as far as you can from the moose.
Don't hit the moose.
Don't hit the moose.
That's all I know.
If you hit the moose, you might die.
The moose will kill you.
Moose wins every time.
A lot of deer on the road. Have you noticed
there
that?
has been lately.
3 different ones,
Really?
and they've been out there for a while.
My friend just brought this up in Charlotte. She was like, guys, I have a weird question. We're like having dinner on a beautiful rooftop, and she's like, have you guys noticed more roadkill on the road this year? And we're like, what are you talking about, Jackie?
That was my
It
biggest
has
takeaway from driving through Iowa when I came cross country. It was just carnage on the highway. Like every half mile or so, there was a deer that just exploded after being hit by a truck.
Oof.
And like they don't, I mean, you're not going to stop. You just boom, it's bloody carcass on the side of the road. But Iowa, I don't.
great.
Why? I don't know.
It's great uplifting stories.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bloody carcass.
That's all, I mean, I hit a deer once.
When
and
blood flows red on the
told
highway.
And Sharon, I hit a deer coming home one night, and I called the police just to tell them because the deer was lying in the middle of the road. And the guy came and he put a bullet in that thing's head to put it out of its misery. And then the thing like got up a second later. He's like, uh-oh. And he went back. I was looking at my taillight, and he just like unloaded the clip. I mean, like 3 more shots in the head. He came back.
You
He
know,
was like,
it's
man,
a sin to let it just suffer.
I know, it's
suffering. Like,
the cops is like, I've never seen one like that before.
Right? Christian knows what I'm talking about. It's a sin, man.
And then
like
then he pulls out like his list, and he's got just a list of guys ready to come take the meat off the road. And so it was
people stopping.
It all worked out fine, but that deer, it took quite a few to put it down.
While we're at it.
Elle from Wisconsin chiming in too about
Put
our
this
earlier
showdown.
conversation. I like it or not, I think the quality of the team has something to do with becoming a fan. Growing up where I did, my entire fandom is Chicago teams, except for the Patriots. Championships were an icing on the cake, but the Bears were just not enjoyable to watch in the least. So I picked a team that was fun and on national TV a lot. Maybe Fred should be here to chime in on this one. This seems kind of in his department of rooting for teams that are good.
That's Fred's theory.
Just mark this email as unread until next Tuesday.
Whoever the best
how I
team
feel
is in a given league is Fred's favorite. I lived everywhere.
Like, what are we doing?
All right, so this is Jay in Minnesota. He's got a would you rather, a tough one. Listening to Tuesday's show and hearing all the garbage would you rather questions, I have one for you.
I have a crazy
Would you rather
That is totally
give up kissing for the rest of your life or give up sauces for the rest of your life?
What? Kissing or sauces?
Now that's good.
Like,
what are the married guy in their 50s have to say?
I'm going kisses there, bro.
I am too.
Beth, love you, but
I love
Buffalo
me.
wings.
I love me some sauces.
The sweet and sour?
Buffalo barbecue,
tomato,
honey mustard.
No, you guys are young. You can't give up on kissing just yet.
I plead the fifth. There's no good answer for me there because she cooks it and partakes in both things. So it's like, which one do I say? Like, either insult her cooking or I insult the other one. Plead the fifth.
Buffalo sauces, good stuff. Isaac checks in on a good season. I'd be over the moon to get 8 to 10 wins. 6 to 7, I'd feel they're turning the corner and starting to become the New England Patriots I know and love. Thank you guys for always keeping me in the loop with the Patriots. I think you boil it down generally. That's kind of how it feels, right?
And it's back to Evan's thing, too. The way it unfolds, it will tell you a lot about how you feel.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but can we retire the wins prediction question?
It's the
Like,
worst. It's the worst.
I'm sorry. We'll see. Okay. We'll
If you
we'll
noticed,
see.
I don't really answer it very often.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to throw shade at our listeners. I love our listeners, but it's just like,
well, you counter with
I don't know. I don't have
8
another
wins in the last 2 years, right? Like, I mean, that's.
I just don't have a different answer. Like it's the same. Like it's the same answer since the schedule came out.
Yeah.
Like they're right there. We'll
Got
see.
some Christian clap back too, of course. Paul, please don't let Christian from LA speak for all fans. If he thinks 10 wins would be a bad season, he is truly as moronic as everyone thinks. I would be ecstatic for a 10-win season. That would be a hope for our future. I don't expect a Super Bowl this season or even a playoff win. I expect taking advantage of bad football, like our head coach has said. Man, that's probably a good place to put your expectations.
But more importantly, you need to play less bad football than you have.
Yeah.
It's one thing to take advantage of the other team's mistakes, but you have to stop making the mistakes too.
Or just like move the ball consistently at all.
Yeah.
Like it's not even just that they were making mistakes over the last couple years. They also just been like kind of inept on offense. Like it's a combination.
No, I mean they're bottom of the league. There's no way to really sugarcoat it. I mean, everything kind of backs it up, but it just makes those days of. I mean, for me, since I got here,
well,
it
you
was
were
like,
sick of those days.
I know. Well, that one Miami
So-
game where they got Antonio Brown, and it was like, oh my God, like this is
This is
07
crazy.
again. Like it just felt like, and then that season was a slow descent into one of the worst Patriots teams that we've had in recent memory, for whatever reason. But
If they had kept Antonio Brown on the rails, they would have won the Super Bowl. I stand by that. Like they were.
Would they have still gotten Mohamed Sanu?
I don't think
God,
that team
I
was
hope
very
not.
good.
I
mean,
think-
they went 12-4. I mean, not very good for the Alex arrogant fan standards, not for today's standards. Today's they would have.
I think they won the
They
Super
would have
Bowl.
blown these
Because I think
teams
Antonio
out.
Brown still had something in the tank.
Oh, he definitely.
And they would have had him. They would have had Edelman. They would have had a decent defense, and they would have had Brady, obviously.
Well, I mean, by
Super Bowl.
DVOA, that was one of the best Patriots defenses of all time. But that's like the context thing you talk about, which I think is such a worthy deep dive. And as I've done my 85 research, I found from Aaron Schatz that the 85 team was, I believe, the fourth? I think it was the fourth. Yeah, fourth best DVOA by that metric, which just measures efficiency and that it's not really a whole lot of human grading going
That
on.
team
It's just
wasn't
kind of
very
result.
good.
But
It really wasn't.
But it was but
On paper, the receiving core was just like so stacked. All
that
Antonio
defense
had to
was-
do
But
was
like when
not
they played a
intimidate a
good
witness.
team, like Baltimore went through them that Monday night game, like they was not even on the field.
But it was also a terrible matchup. Like they didn't do well.
Yeah, it was
though.
talent against no talent.
Well, they didn't do well against those types of offenses and those types of quarterbacks towards the end with Bill, and so that Baltimore team killed them. No, there's no doubt about it. It was not a close game, but I just feel like if you had given Brady Antonio Brown, even at the back end of his prime, with still a little bit left in his
They
tank,
certainly would have beaten Tennessee in that playoff game.
I think they would have.
That'll.
I think
There's
they
no
would've
way they
been
lose. Whatever,
just as good as they
13
were in
points they
18.
score. Yeah, and I think the 18 Super Bowl was kind of fluky. I don't think they were the best team in football in 18.
Kansas City probably was.
Yeah.
Mahomes, I just think, was not quite ready.
Yeah.
Now it makes up for back to Mike's childhood days and is reminiscing like 06. It was completely self-inflicted wounds. You intentionally allowed David Givens to leave in free agency and then played hardball with Deion Branch. So you left Brady with absolutely nothing on offense, and you still got to the final possession of the AFC title game in a game that I know that I make fun of fans, but I'll do the same thing that you guys always do. They absolutely would have beaten the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl. Games that they never played in, I know they're undefeated. They would not have lost to the Bears in the 06 Super Bowl.
So what you're saying is they actually have 7 rings.
Completely.
Don't forget 2015 because
no, but I'm just saying. Yeah, see, the 15 team
started out hot.
They should have beaten Denver in that game. They shouldn't have lost to the shell of Peyton Manning. But that defense was legit.
Yeah,
it was a legit
for sure,
defense.
for sure. I mean, we talked about it already. That was.
But I look at the 06 team was completely self-inflicted. That didn't have to happen. They didn't have to go in with their hands tied behind their back the way they did. That was a Super Bowl lost, and that makes up for the one that you kind of steal in 18.
Yeah,
with a team that probably was great but on fumes, and they steal another one.
It's like I said to you, even with Deion Branch, that team, it felt like a disservice to Tom Brady, who had won 3 Super Bowls, and you could see that the paradigm was starting to shift a little bit, and then that season, it seems like, woke them up to the fact of like, yeah, you can't do that. Like,
and what did he do? What was the response?
Right, they went out and signed. At first, it was like Dante Stallworth.
Moss,
I'm like, great.
Welker,
then all of a sudden, it's Welker. Whoa.
Kyle Brady, even Kelly Washington. Yeah. Like they went out and got a bunch of guys to add weapons to the offense. And oh, by the way, they ended up with the best offense of all time.
Yeah, and meanwhile, in that game, you're watching Jabbar Gaffney, who was acquired, I think, off waivers mid-season, have like 9-10 catches, huge play. I mean, touchdown.
That made up for the Doug Gabriel experience.
Doug Gabriel, who again, got somebody they brought in early, which seemed like the reaction to, we just had to trade Deion Branch. We need to get a body in here, and you brought in Doug Gabriel, and I think they blasted the Vikings shortly thereafter, and it made you briefly think that they were on track. But yeah, it's just interesting how it all goes over 20 long years. Jack in Ann Arbor just reminding us too, Sony Michel is a bad pick, not because he was not very talented, because he's injury prone, and also the better pick would have been Nick Chubb. To your point, Paul, of people who were drafted around these players. This was his college teammate. Who went on to a better career, and I think did he just sign with
Houston?
Houston, right. All right.
I think Houston.
I don't do the whole Nick Chubb thing. Like, that to me is revisionist history. Like, I think when going into that draft, Michelle and Chubb were a coin flip. Like, there was Michelle people and there was Chubb people, and I don't think that was.
I agree, but you're paid to get it right.
They're paid to get it right.
That's what I'm saying.
But
I said earlier in the show that I missed on that one too. I liked Michelle, and I thought that Chubb was kind of the plotter, and Michelle had the juice. Turned out to be the other way around. But they get paid to know that.
Everybody thought that. Everybody thought that Chubb was going to be an early down workhorse, first and second down back, but not overly dynamic, and Michelle was going to be a pass catcher and versatile and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just, with the information that we had at the time, it was a coin flip, and they flipped the coin the wrong direction. So.
Dan in Virginia and Michigan clarifying, Salt and Pepper referred to not just Paul and Evan's respective hair colors and Paul's love of music, but also and primarily the occasional snarky nature of both of them. If we extend this condiment-themed nickname to include Deuce and Alex, I guess they could be ketchup and mustard, but I'll leave you to decide which is which. I don't know, are there any other comments?
No.
Salt and pepper, more spices.
Alex is mustard. She's got a little more spice.
Could be horseradish. I like horseradish sauce.
She's more spicy.
Like horseradish?
Horseradish on a nice cut of beef.
Deuce, you're just mayo, buddy.
Mayo.
I feel like we could keep it with spices.
He's Wonder Bread.
You're probably right. Mayo on Wonder
like
Bread.
Crushed red pepper, paprika, thyme.
Salt and pepper of the day.
Condiments
and
spices.
aren't really condiments.
You're right.
That's true.
You're right.
Whoa, what are we
Italian
talking now?
seasoning.
No,
Spices.
that is correct.
Well,
Mustard
an
and
Italian
ketchup,
is a
condiments.
collection of spices.
I like
It's not.
Italian seasoning. I don't know. It just is called Italian
It's a good
seasoning.
mix.
Yeah.
It's a mix of
Put it on your-
spices
put it on your
together in
steak.
one seasoning pack.
It's good.
Yeah.
I got a wonderful spice mix from Costco. That it's basically just salt, pepper, garlic, but I've been putting it.
Yep.
By the way,
You
I
love
have to give-
Costco. He's converted.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna.
I knew it would happen.
I feel like I invented this
knew
for
it
him.
would happen.
Like,
What
seriously.
No,
What were you, a BJ's guy?
No, we
before
just
this?
never.
No, we never had
We
it.
weren't a big box store.
They were Trader Joe's
you didn't-
family.
Oh my gosh.
I
We didn't
know.
buy
Just
in
for-
bulk, but
I
now
know.
everything?
I don't have to buy toilet paper for the next like 2 years.
Yeah, wait,
yeah.
what? You just
Oh, I
found
love
this out now?
Costco. I'm Costco's
No,
biggest
it's true.
fan.
It's true. The chickens, the roast chickens, everybody already knows about that. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to Alex, because you gave me a life-changing tip one time, and I just want to share it with the PU audience because it's been amazing. It's changed my life with chicken breasts, and that is cutting them vertically
Yes.
instead of horizontally.
Yes.
And you
So
cut-
much more tender.
It's all so much more tender. Cut them vertically.
Is there like a
Okay,
thing?
so if
like
you're
with
making
beef, there's
cutlets,
like,
You know,
what's
it's like-
it called? It's like the
You're
thing,
making
you know?
cutlets, and you have the breast, like
the breast like this, cut it along the
cut
length.
it the long way.
So you have like
and then
long-
pound it out.
Yeah, it's it's and all you do is I just take the spice rub I got
Yeah.
from Costco and some little olive oil, throw it in the air fryer, get it a little bit, well, not overdone because chicken breasts dry out, but I love it. I can't eat it enough.
so good.
Excellent.
It's
Chop
the
it up.
only way to
What
do
is
it.
in the steak when you cut it like that because there's like
You want to cut like a brisket. You want to cut like
on
against the grain so that
right. So
Yeah.
that's like, but now we're just doing
same
that with
thing.
chicken.
I'm telling you, people, if you make chicken breasts, that's the
Yep.
way to go. Excellent.
Like if you're
Excellent.
making chicken cutlets, you have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Cut the long way and then pound it
all
out.
these
I don't even like pound it out with a pounder. I just like use my.
He did the finger to you.
He did. He just gave me the finger.
Give you the fingers.
He gave me the Italian finger. I don't know why that's okay, and I'm just supposed to take it. I can't go to HR or anything.
You want to take
It's
it.
always
You got
they give you the fingers.
You got the cutlets? You got someone can get your odds on those?
Don't put too many onions in the sauce. All right.
It's too much garlic.
No such thing as too much garlic.
Oh, yes, there is.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
From Italian. That's word of God right there.
You can ruin it.
Did we make it? Did we do it? I think we did it. We're on every email.
We gave him some extra
We'll
time.
shortchange
all our
it. That's
calls.
okay.
Yeah.
Evan and I took care of you.
I'm
on
giving you
Tuesday.
a
We
slow
gave you a little
ramp
extra.
here to get out.
No NBA draft talk though.
No
dude.
NBA draft.
Not
Cooper
enough
Cooper
time.
Flag. Congratulations.
Pride of
Just-
New yeah.
Deuce
Pride of
dis-
Maine.
I saw
discovered
Cooper Flag at
yesterday.
my LA Fitness once.
Was he hooping?
He just
Yeah,
You saw
in
who?
pajama pants.
Cooper
Love
Flag.
that.
Cooper Flag at
Cooper
the Springfield LA Fitness.
That's cool.
Don't know why. He might have been there for like hoop hall or something. I don't know.
Was he
Well,
just-
Deuce just figured him out yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good
Just
player.
figured
Good
him
player. Good
Played
player.
against Will.
Should have been really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he take him to the hole?
He didn't take it. He didn't take it all that seriously. In the summer, I guess the story was like instead of playing with like the elite teams, like in the summer, he liked to play with his friends from home.
yeah.
And this was like one of those
Beat up
tournaments.
on the
Yeah.
local town teams.
Old Orchard Beach. It was nice.
There you go.
Fun weekend.
Congratulations, Cooper. We're all proud of you here in New England, and maybe you make your way to the Celtics someday. We'll see. But that's going to do it for us here, Patriots Unfiltered. Fred will be back next week, and enjoy your summer weekend. We'll be back. See you next Tuesday.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.